All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? We're back, Jon and Jim, for the next 3 hours. We made it back since yesterday.
Where did we go?
Well, the reason I say we're back is it kind of feels like we never did leave, and that's maybe because I went from here to Viejas. We had the late game, and then you know what I mean. It's like you never really escape it. And then you posted something interesting. I don't even know why I'm starting here, but I'm going to do it. We questioned whether we should post the call from a caller, Jon, yesterday, who ripped into us. Whether we should post that on social media. We're like, should we post it? It was kind of like good, entertaining content.
We sound like Eeyore. We make Eeyore seem manic.
Explain that to me, by the way, because I don't even fully Eeyore from whatever his name is.
So I had to look this up.
From Winnie the Pooh.
Manic is an adjective. It's a word that describes word energetic.
Yeah, like if you're manic, like a maniac.
But I don't know what the correlation between we make Eeyore seem manic.
Brent, help us with that. Seriously. What was he trying to say there? Because I don't fully get that.
Because Eeyore was super depressed all the time. Oh. And he's a downer.
Oh, so we are a super manic downer.
You guys are such a bummer that you make Eeyore look
gotcha.
Peppy and
so when it comes to specifically when it comes to Jon was saying when it comes to
catch up on your Disney stuff. Guys.
When it comes to our coverage of the Padres or the way we talk about the Padres, he's saying we've been downers because we should be uppers considering what's happened this offseason. You know what I mean? So, okay, we went back and forth. And then Jim posted this on social media. Anyway, we've been talking about it for the last 24 hours. I don't even know why I started there. We started yesterday with some stupid conversation about Instagram. Mm-hmm. I doubled down on Instagram today, and I put a post up, Brent, with the guests for today, because Bryce Miller's going to join us from the UT at 3:30. Okay, I saw him at Viejas yesterday. We have Mike Schmidt. We had Eric Schmidt yesterday. We have Mike Schmidt today. He's the offensive line coach at San Diego State. He's back on the Mesa. He'll join us at 4. Brian Bennett. Okay. Please, I'm asking for forgiveness now to Jim and Brent. He's our first bracketologist of the year. 2 months out from Selection Sunday. Brian Bennett from The Athletic will join us at 5 p.m. Anyway, Brent, I took some initiative and I put another post on Instagram after Jim ripped it.
Did you make another logo?
He said it was worse than my first post.
Dude.
Did he make another logo?
No, it wasn't a logo.
You need to find it. Because you're not on Instagram, but search for us. Or I'll send it to you.
It's probably the worst thing I've ever seen since the last thing that you made, which was also the worst thing I've ever seen.
Dude.
I didn't know how you could top what you made a couple days ago.
And I did it?
You did it. We 100% topped it. It's so bad. It looks like a 5-year-old made it.
I have a 4-year-old.
It looks like Jones could have done better.
Dude, that's super rude. People rip into us on Twitter, and you're like, dude, this guy ripped into us on Twitter. And then you rip into me in real life.
Because I'm telling the truth.
Okay, that's fine. I kind of agree.
Just like with whoever rips me on Twitter, I'm being honest.
Dude, Aztec for Life said these new carousel graphics are fire with the fire emoji.
I don't think he's being serious.
Is he not?
I don't think so. I think that's more of a yeah, they're really good, Jon.
You know what was incredible, though, yesterday, Jim? We gained, remember we talked about Instagram for an hour. We gained 75 subscribers or followers on Instagram yesterday. Somehow, talking about my bad graphics. What are they? Dude, we need a social media manager.
We need a lot of things.
Get Brian Wilson in here.
Okay. I'm sure he'll be the new social media guy.
We need a social media manager. Is iHeart hiring? Are they hiring for San Diego Sports 760?
Let me answer that for you. Absolutely not.
All right. Here's where I want to start. We're not spending another 10 minutes on Instagram.
People.
But find us on Instagram and follow us, and we'll give you a shout out today as well at Jon and Jim. JONANDJIM. We have some good news for Padres fans. We're not just starting there because of caller Jon, because I'm going to also give you bad news in a moment. The good news is this. Let's hear it from Jon Morosi, MLB Network. Okay, we haven't had a lot of Padres trade rumors. We've had so many over the last 3 or 4 off seasons and in season under Peter Seidler's ownership and AJ Preller's guidance. There's been all these rumors and all these trades. It's been such a quiet off season. Let's be honest with each other. But Jon Morosi had a really interesting tidbit today on Blue Jays starter Alek Manoah, MLB Network. Take a listen to this.
What does this mean for Alek Manoah? And you see him there. Manoah's still right now in the 5th spot of the Jays rotation because we're not sure, again, if Yadiel will be able to pitch for a full 6 months in the rotation. And yet, we do know there have been rumblings of trade conversations between the Jays and other teams this offseason. The Padres are one team that I would mention because Manoah was able to come back at least after a really tough start to the year. Get sent to the minor leagues. He was able to work his way back to the major leagues. did not have a ton of success. But in my experience watching him, it wasn't as though he was non-competitive. He just didn't have as good stuff in 2023, and he was often a pitch or two away from getting out of jams, but things tended to snowball for him. So I think a team like San Diego, big ballpark, National League, different venue, different change of scenery entirely, I can see that type of a situation being very advantageous for Manoah. That being said, the Jays are not just going to give him away because he does still have value to him, value to the organization.
Jon Morosi, Alek Manoah. So let me just say this. Okay. So the good news is I'm excited to hear the Padres tied to a potential starting pitcher. I really am. The bad news is, and Morosi was trying to spin this thing, Alek Manoah was among the worst starting pitchers in baseball last year. The good news is he was really good, Jim, in 2021 and 22. His numbers last year were so out of whack, you wonder what on earth was going on last year with Alek Manoah. They were that bad compared to where he was the prior 2 years.
Yes.
Right? I mean, his numbers were terrible. I don't even have them in front of me. They're so bad, I don't even want. He had like a 6+ ERA in 19 starts last year.
We talked about this around the Soto trade.
Okay.
Where we were talking about best case scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
And I mentioned a best case scenario if at the end, when the dust settles with the Juan Soto deal, if you ended up somehow with a frontline starting pitcher like a Corbin Burns.
Right.
Not going to happen, but just hear me out.
Oh, you were saying it's part of that Soto transaction.
Yeah, like when the dust settles,
yeah,
if
I
you
got you.
had to trade Soto and then flip somebody and then get this guy. And
I agreed with you.
You would have to make multiple moves for this to happen. But I said, if the dust settles and you have to trade Juan Soto, which they did, and you ended up with a legitimate starting pitcher, more preferably front line starting pitcher,
mm-hmm.
and a guy like Alek Manoah, who you could potentially get on the cheap because of some maybe character issues and his horrible bad year last year. I think if you're a Padres fan, you would look at that as, okay, that I could make that into a positive because you get him with Ruben Niebla.
Yeah.
Which is what I feel like this franchise is doing is, all right, we're going to get as many pitchers as possible. And Ruben, do your magic.
Yeah, take these reclamation projects. I don't know if Manoah is that, but take these guys off down years.
I would put him in a 100% reclamation project.
Because last year was that bad.
It was
awful.
So bad. And his journey throughout the season.
Wasn't he like in A-ball and he was all over the place, wasn't he?
Yeah, he had almost like a 6 ERA. He had a negative WAR. He was
awful.
It was an awful season from him. But why there's intrigue there, I think for a lot of Padres fans and for myself included, and maybe AJ Preller, is just a couple years ago, dude's an all-star.
Yeah.
And he's shown that he has it in him. So it's not like this guy's been in the big leagues for what, 6, 7, whatever, how many years he's been.
I think just 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
And every year has been bad. And
no, he's had good
we
years.
can take him.
Yep.
Like, no, he's had some good years and he has shown some promise and he has been an all-star and he's been a guy that could be at the front of close to the front of your rotation. So for me, they need pitchers desperately, not desperately, but they need pitchers bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like the rotation they have now, it's going to be walking a tightrope for the whole season if you just have that. So I think they could get him on the cheap. I don't think that it would cost too much considering of what year he had last year.
You're going to be shocked with what I'm about to say. If I'm AJ Preller and what Jon Morosi just said, I think he's spot on. I'd be all in on this type of pitcher. Reason being, everything you said, plus he's under control for the next 4 years. He made sub $1 million last year. To your point, working with Niebla, he doesn't have to be an all-star pitcher like he was in 2022 or 2021. But if you can get him back to being serviceable, a back-end rotation piece, and you could do it for relatively cheap. Now, I don't know if you can, to be honest, Jim, because I just gave you some reasons. If I'm Toronto, I'm not just moving him for the benefit of just moving him or just to move him, because 4 years of control, 26 years of age, not making a lot of money. So like you're selling really low. Like this is the opposite of selling on Ha-Seong Kim. This is a little bit of like selling on Jay Cronenworth. So like, are you willing to sell low and sell for pennies on the dollar on Manoah? And maybe it would cost more than that if you're the Padres, but I'd be willing to spend a little bit more. Yes, awful year But change of scenery, young pitcher, under control with Niebla. This is the type of play. What's better to you, Jim? Making a trade, giving up prospect capital, paying him $1 million next year, or going out and getting one of those veteran starters we talked about yesterday for $14 million a year?
I think with where they're positioned right now, trading a prospect for a pitcher like Manoah.
I agree.
I look, spending the $12 million on a pitcher in hindsight, or in the grand scheme of things, or 12, 14 million, it's not a lot. It's the going rate.
I agree.
It's what the going rate is for a quality starting pitcher. Problem is they don't have 12, 14, 15 million dollars to spend right now on just one guy, I feel like. So with that being said, you got to pivot, you got to move, and it has to be creative. Like AJ has to be as creative as he's ever been. Do I think he's been that this offseason? No. The Soto deal, you could argue, yes, because he got a bunch of pitchers, but we still have to wait and see what those guys turn out to be. They could turn out to be great. And you could look back at the Soto deal and be like, oh my God, I can't believe the Yankees did that.
Yeah.
Or you could look back at the Soto deal and be like, okay, this guy had a 4 ERA with you. This catcher couldn't hit with a lick. And these two other pitchers didn't do anything. And Drew Thorpe never developed. And while Juan Soto won an MVP with the Yankees.
All possible.
All possible. Both things could happen.
Yep.
Hopefully, if you're the Padres, the one where Michael King turns into closer to a frontline starting pitcher, and you have Drew Thorpe developed through your system, another quality arm that they have there, Brito, Vasquez, Higgy behind the plate's a solid backup. You hope those things happen, but we don't know until we actually see it. But with Manoah, if you trust Ruben Niebla as much as you say you do, and you think with the new system they have at Point Loma, I saw Joe Musgrove the other day working there.
Yeah.
They were adamant in making sure that they had, Ruben Niebla hired before Bob Melvin a couple of years ago. They were very outspoken as like, no, Ruben Niebla is definitely coming back on this roster. Or on this coaching staff. It was whoever the manager. Okay, it's fine. But Ruben Niebla, he's coming back. So if you trust Ruben Niebla as much as you say you do, with fixing guys, and he's shown he can do it. He's done it with Josh Hader when he was struggling when he came here. He turned Michael Wacha into a really quality starting pitcher. I think Seth Lugo is a guy that was never a starter, and he came here and he became a really good starter. So you trust Ruben Niebla. I put Manoah with him, see what happens, and hopefully if you trade for him, you aren't trading big-time capital prospects, because I don't think it would take that to get Manoah.
Well, I would say this. The one thing you need to be careful with Ruben Niebla, even if he is a pitching whisperer, is to believe that he can turn every pitcher around. Because that's probably fool's gold. Like all of a sudden, we're just going to go get the Manoahs of the world. We don't need to spend money on players like Snell and Darvish and Musgrove. You need a combination, right? You can't just have reclamation projects and turn to Ruben Niebla and make everything work. And I would also say this. This may be a very measured type move. We don't know if they're going to acquire Alek Manoah. I was about to say Alek Manoah or not. But again, a couple of off seasons ago when Peter Seidler took over ownership, the way they struck with Snell, Darvish, Musgrove trades within a period of weeks was truly incredible. That's not what we're going to experience here in the days and weeks ahead. You wouldn't believe, based on what they've done so far. Matsui, trading away Juan Soto, and then John Morosi reporting that, hey, Alek Manoah is the type of fit that could work for the Padres considering the situation that they're in. I'm understanding of that. I'm not out here hoping they're trading for a frontline starter or they're going to spend, $100 million on Blake Snell or Josh Hader. You got to come to grips with where they're at. And based on where they're at, what can they do? And all that considered, that's where Alek Manoah, to me, makes a lot of sense.
It really does. You have to be creative in a sense that you do things with some risk, because that's where you're at. And Alek Manoah, I think would be a risky move.
The risk would be the prospects you gave up, because if you got him for cheap and he didn't pan out.
Well, I think also the risk is if you happen to get Alek Manoah here, what if he is still the guy from last year and you can't fix him? Then you may have put too much eggs in that basket where you hope that this guy could really contribute for this team, and you're putting too much.
Like if you pencil him in as your number 4 or 5 starter, and the thing completely unravels.
And then where you go from there if he doesn't.
Right.
You're like, oh, crap, we missed on that one.
So you have to have more options than just Manoah, you're saying, in that hypothetical.
Yeah, you do, because there's so much risk with hey, you can turn this guy into a good pitcher again. Like, what if you can't?
Right.
I have faith in Niebla, which I know AJ Preller in this organization does more than anybody, and he's proven that he can do it. But what if he can't? Not everybody can be fixed. Not everybody. It's the truth. And so while I trust Ruben Niebla to, and the guys around him to hopefully, if they had to make this trade, or if they did make this trade to turn this guy around, I would be on board with it for sure. I think it's a move that makes more sense than going out and giving a guy $15 million as a starting pitcher.
What on earth happened in 2023? The way I remember it, and correct me if I'm wrong, not only was he an all-star in 2022, he was like a top 5 pitcher. And in 2023, the wheels completely fell off.
Yeah.
And what were the circumstances surrounding it? Was it health? Was it injuries? Was it mechanics? Was it mental? I know he went into camp heavy.
Yeah, I would say there's a lot of things, but one thing that does kind of concern me as far as a character standpoint, if you're looking at
what was
Alek
the
Manoah,
character thing?
So he got demoved because he was
ineffective,
pitching horribly,
right?
And he never reported to AAA, and that was a situation that was a problem. And if you get demoted to AAA and you never report down there, like that's a problem. It's an issue,
right? And didn't he spend time in like A-ball last year?
He never. He might have.
Okay,
but he wasn't throwing bullpen sessions. He wasn't doing the work necessary. Maybe he is kind of like Jon Manoah, because Jon Manoah, when he was here as a Padre, admitted after the fact that he didn't really try that much.
But that's the type. What's interesting is that's the type of person I want in a new organization. You see, I want the guy that's willing to start over. He's a former first-round pick that throws 98. That's 26. That's the guy I'm willing to take a risk on. Like, there's way more upside potential there than signing a 35-year-old off the scrap heap with 2,000 innings on his arm for $15 million a year. I want the guy that can start over, work with Ruben Niebla, get to a pitcher's ballpark, and hopefully I can catch lightning in a bottle with. And I don't know if they're going to do it with Alek Manoah or not, but that's a really ideal candidate for me. He's under control for multiple years. He's coming off a down year. Give him a new scenery, and see if he can be what he was previously.
Yeah, you're not asking him to be your number one starter.
Musgrove or Darvish.
No, you need Musgrove and Darvish to be the number one guys.
Yes.
1A and 1B. You need it. If you don't get that type of performances from Darvish and Musgrove this season, good luck.
We're not going to be like, well, Manoah's got to pick up the slack and have a 2.1 ERA and win 19 games.
But the more options, the better. And it could be a situation where maybe the Blue Jays are viewing it like you said. This guy needs to change of scenery, and we're not going to ask for the moon for him because of the year he came off of. So not like whoever wants him has him, but we're not going to be asking for your like 5th ranked prospect in your organization.
Right.
So it's a very intriguing name. I've talked about him. We've talked about him since the Juan Soto trade. That was a name that we brought up months ago. And this team needs pitching. This team needs outfield depth. Not just depth, but actual starters. And we've said that the probably likeliest way to do that is through trades. Yeah. It's not going out and signing guys. If you sign Jurickson Profar, that means you're probably not signing to more than like a $3 million deal.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, you still have to look at making trades to upgrade your team. And if you're asking, well, who's out there that could be a guy that you can get on a low level type of trade, Alek Manoah is a guy that I think that you could get for not a lot, and hopefully it's one of those diamonds in the roughs.
Dude, the more I read about this, and the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, I want Alek Manoah. As crazy as that sounds, he was their opening day starter. Mm-hmm. He finished 3rd in the AL Cy Young voting in 2022. I'm willing to look past 19 awful starts in 2023 and not reporting and coming into camp heavy. Former first-round pick that throws 98, that was 3rd in the American League Cy Young voting in 2022. I'm all in, considering where the Padres are at today.
So are you cool with potential character issues with him last year?
What do I like to say? Other than I used to work in minor league baseball? I'll tell you something.
Have his head towards the ground?
I love saying that, but here's another thing I like to say. The Padres aren't in the business of having good people. They're in the business of having a good baseball team.
What?
I know. It's a fine line. And I don't know anything about this guy's character or if he's a bad person.
Because when you say, because I'm just saying,
but if he can help you on field.
But when you say things like that, then you're going to get the people in the chat on Twitter, and they're going to be like, well, if you say that, John, that means they should go out and get Trevor Bauer. That means they should
No,
go out
well, there's a
and
difference.
get Julio
No,
Urias.
that's fair, but that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there's a fine line. I'll give you a classic example of this, and I'm all for Manny Machado. I think he's done a lot more good than bad in his 5 years in San Diego. It hasn't been perfect. He may not be the perfect player you're building around from like an off the field perspective or a clubhouse perspective, but the guy flat out rakes when he's healthy, and he plays, and he's a great defender, and he leads with his play. So I'm not saying Manoah is Machado. I'm not doing the comparison. But what I'm saying is this. If Manoah can help you, he doesn't have to be the perfect humanitarian. If Manoah can help you on field, to me, I'm willing to take some chances, right? You got to think about it from that perspective. Like, it can't all be buttoned up and perfect, and every deal is a guy coming off a Cy Young caliber year. Some guys you're going to have to take a little bit of a risk on, and maybe Manoah is a guy that would be a good candidate for that right now.
Well, the character issues that I'm
What are the character
talking
issues?
about is, I don't know, giving a crap, like actually doing your
That's
job,
where a change of scenery,
working hard.
Okay, but
practicing.
Come on, that sounds like culture, Jim.
Oh,
what is this, high school?
But how did he have
That's
a
right.
2.2 ERA and finish third in the American League Cy Young voting? I'm saying in 2022.
Then how?
Just go find that
I know.
guy.
No, I know. Go find that guy.
Right.
But also, you saw what happened when he faced major adversity, and he wasn't that 2.0 whatever ERA guy. And I'm not going to say he quit, but he didn't do the work, and it showed on the field. It seemed like he was lazy. It seemed like when he was, kind of not put in his place, but hey, you're not pitching well, so we need you to go down to the minors. And he said, no, I'm not doing that. That's the character issues I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's not bad.
If you're going to be coming here, and if you don't perform, you're going to have to take criticism well. You're going to have to be like, okay, I'm making a bunch of money, and if I'm not performing well and they're going to send me down to AAA to work on some things, I can't be like, you know what? I'm not going to show up. I'm not going to do my bullpens. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that.
Maybe he's learned his lesson from 2023. I don't know. I don't know Alek Manoah, but maybe he's learned his lesson. But again, from a risk-reward perspective, this is the type of player, in my opinion, the Padres should be in on. On the other side, Bryce Miller, he was at Viejas Arena last night. Michael Cage, his jersey going up into the rafters. We'll talk about the Padres' quiet offseason and the Aztecs' 15-3 start with Bryce Miller, great columnist from the UT, after this break on Jon and Jim. All right, Bryce Miller, great columnist from the Union Tribune. He was at Viejas Arena last night. Michael Cage's jersey put back into the rafters. We'll talk some Aztecs hoops and Padres offseason with Bryce next.
All right, this update's brought to you by Indeed.com. We'll start with the Aztecs. They beat Nevada last night, 71-59. They're now 4-1 in conference play. Next up for the Aztecs, tough road game versus Boise State this Saturday, 10 a.m. Pacific. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. NFL news of the day, Bill Belichick is getting a second interview with the Atlanta Falcons, and Mike McCarthy officially will be returning as the Cowboys head coach next season. New year, new hiring needs. Indeed's end-to-end solution helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all year round. Schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from your Indeed dashboard. Learn more by visiting Indeed.com/credit.
All right, Bryce Miller, columnist of the UT, expected to join us momentarily. We've gotten some follows, by the way, on Instagram today again. Travis Devlin, who then ripped my graphic, but followed us. Thank you, Travis.
Thank you, Travis.
My Moments Media followed us as well. So thank you guys for the follows. I might give up on the Instagram graphics.
No, keep doing it. Keep creating these
I'm
like
done.
generic 5-year-old.
Dude, they're Canva templates.
Yeah.
Which you would think would be like good.
You pick the worst ones.
Maybe, probably. To be all right, Brent's connecting right now with Bryce.
And you thought to yourself, too.
I thought it was very good.
You thought it was very good. Yeah, I know.
That happened yesterday as well, or 2 days ago.
I know. You're like, dude, this. I can picture you sitting there making it. And you're thinking to yourself, this is actually going to make Jim impressed. This is going to impress Jim. And the second I see it, it sucks.
Into it. Okay, Bryce Miller was at Viejas Arena yesterday. It was a really cool night for Aztec fans because not only are you playing Nevada at home in this important game, but Michael Cage and others were recognized at the half a return to the rafters night. I mean, Michael Cage, who played here in the 80s and then had a successful career in the NBA, still working in the NBA as an analyst with the Oklahoma City Thunder, is still the all-time rebound record holder in San Diego State history in terms of career rebounds. Isn't that kind of amazing? I talked about that with Bryce yesterday. Like, he played here 40 years ago. San Diego State's been amazing the last 25 years. Mm-hmm. They've had a lot of 3, 4, 5-year players, yet Michael Cage is still far and away the all-time record holder in career rebounds.
Yeah, and he went on to have a very successful NBA career. Now he's a color analyst for, I believe, the Thunder.
Yeah.
So Michael Cage, absolutely deserving to have his number in the rafters.
All right, let's catch up with Bryce Miller, who has written today on the Aztecs quote-unquote warrior, Michael Cage. You saw his jersey get raised into the Viejas Arena rafters last night in the Aztecs win over Nevada, 71-59. Bryce, always good to connect. Great to see you yesterday at Viejas as well. We talked a little bit about this, and I enjoyed your article when I read it here this afternoon. It is remarkable, just to follow up on this, that San Diego State's had all this basketball history since Cage, yet he still remains the record holder in so many different categories. That kind of speaks to what he meant to this program even 40 years later.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it says something. It says a couple of things. One, the lasting power of that record, and we talked about last night, you and I, John, and even Michael and I didn't have it in the column, but everybody knows the best trivia on that campus is that, Tony Gwynn's still the all-time assist leader in that program. And it's just the power of very established. But it's one other thing it said about Michael Cage is that he stayed around for his entire time. I mean, some of the guys like, Ted Leitner argued that maybe Kawhi would have caught him for the rebounding record because he was such a good rebounder for his size if he'd have stayed the entire time he was eligible. And there's certainly some truth potentially, but this program's been really good for 20 years, and those records have stood up. And he's just one of those guys that played the game hard and put the bar pretty high, and in many cases, including the rebounding record, it's still there.
You mentioned Tony Gwynn, all-time assist leader. Is that a number that you think should be also up there with Kawhi and Cage as well? Like, I think Tony Gwynn, big-time San Diego State basketball career. Do you think he should be up there next?
Oh, I don't know. He did a little bit in baseball too, I heard.
Yeah, just a little bit, yeah.
Did he play baseball, Tony Gwynn?
What?
Yeah, so he had a different career in baseball and did pretty good. Yeah, I mean, he's just that's just a tribute to somebody who's superhuman in terms of what they're able to do athletically and the skill set that is transferable across a couple of different sports. Tony Gwynn's a unicorn. It's not like we didn't already know that in this town, but it's one of those things that's certainly the case. But Michael Cage, and I mentioned the column, and then I noticed after I wrote it that I went on and kind of didn't take my own advice, but I said, if you only looked at him as a rebounder, you're really shortchanging him because he left as the all-time leading scorer. And that record stood for 27 years. So it's really physical and knew how to rebound the ball, but he was just a really good all-around basketball player in this program. And there's just no.
Bryce Miller from the UT is with us right now on Jon and Jim. So, Bryce, you kind of look up, and the Aztecs are 15-3. It's like they've kind of fallen out of bed every year. I mean, it's just amazing the level of consistency. I was just thinking about this earlier today. In this era of the portal, and now 2-time, 3-time, 4-time transfers might be coming. Who knows what the future looks like? And you have blue blood programs that are not sustaining any success. Indiana, Syracuse, there's countless other examples. Yet San Diego State under Steve Fisher, now Brian Dutcher, routinely, annually puts themselves in position to get to the NCAA tournament. I mean, we've had this conversation before in San Diego, but isn't it kind of remarkable the level of consistent success they've had since Michael Cage? I mean, Michael Cage is a great individual player. The program wasn't a great program until the late 1990s when Steve Fisher got here.
Yeah, I mean, one of the hallmarks, everybody talks about this this program playing defense, and that's absolutely true. But maybe, if that's the number one, kind of cornerstone of the program, 1A is that they just, it's uncanny their ability to get guys that fit. They get guys who fit what they're trying to do. And it's not just that they fit defensively or they fit, role offensively that you piece together and gives you a chance to score enough to be good. They fit kind of in all ways. They fit in terms of how they relate to coaches. I mean, look at Jaden Ledee. Anybody in the country would want Jaden Ledee right now on their roster. Well, he was at 2 other programs before he got to San Diego State. And even last year, in a lot of ways, he certainly started the year as a bench guy. He came on down the stretch, but he was nowhere near the type of play. Even though he showed the ability to be this kind of player, he wasn't consistently this NBA player we're seeing night in, night out today. That's them seeing that fit long before. That's them seeing that this is the kind of guy that we're going to slide in and he's going to get better and he's going to get, he's going to do things to elevate this program. So their ability to kind of look into a crystal ball and see into the future with a lot of guys is something that Brian Dutcher certainly continued. And it's one of the biggest factors, I think, in the success of this program.
Looking forward to the rest of the year, Bryce, is there any concerns? Like, what's the biggest concern you have for the remainder of this season with this team going forward?
Well, I think it's the kind of concern that every team has as you start to turn the corner into the new year, and when you're starting to think about February, or getting closer to thinking about February, you're like, well, March is right behind it, and it's about being healthy. Because the one thing with San Diego State is these teams always get better, as the season goes on. They're always better. They're better in January than they were in December. They're better in February than they were in January, and they're better generally in March. Although they really needed to prove they could turn that corner in the NCAA tournament, which they obviously did last year. So there may be another run away from kind of showing that they can consistently be that type of program in March. But it's all about staying healthy. I mean, there are nights when you really need Darian Trammell to be the sniper, the sharpshooter that he can be. But he battled injuries early in the season. A lot of guys have on this team. Reese Waters has, Jaden Ledee has. They just need to keep this group together because at the beginning of the season, I thought there's no way. Well, I didn't say no way, but I thought it would be difficult to believe they could be consistently 9 deep in a rotation the way they were a year ago. But now I see it. Now it looks like they could do that. So it's a matter of staying healthy. They got a ton of young talent or first-year guys that are contributing, and that confidence is kind of ramping up exponentially. So as long as you keep all those pieces on the floor, they should be very interesting and probably pretty dangerous come March.
Bryce, before you go, related to the Padres spring training, pitchers and catchers, really just about 3 weeks away, Super Bowl Sunday. Are you expecting like another shoe to drop when it comes to the Padres and offseason moves, or is this quiet offseason just going to continue all the way into spring training?
Well, something's got to happen, right? I mean, you're potentially 2 outfielders short. Maybe it's 1 if you're going to stay in the system. I mean, they don't even have 40 men on the 40-man roster. What are you doing? You still need another starter at the very least. You still need at least another left-handed at bat, probably 2. You probably, in a perfect world, need 2 outfielders. I mean, there are just too many holes right now with this team. I don't think the question should be, is something going to happen? Something has to happen. It's a matter of at what degree and what level does it happen? Because maybe, AJ Preller, there's so many times, I've been at spring training when they signed Eric Hosmer, when they signed Manny Machado. Big things that happen late in the off-season cycle. And maybe it doesn't happen with those type of names. In fact, if you look out there, there are very few of those types of names still left that seem to be in their economic crosshairs. But they've certainly got too many holes to fill to just stand pat with where they are right now. It's just a matter of what degree, I think.
Yeah, I agree with you. Well said. Bryce, enjoyed your article here today, the column on Michael Cage. Appreciate you doing it. Look forward to seeing you at Viejas or spring training or at the ballpark at some point soon. So thank you.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks.
All right, Bryce Miller, columnist for the Union Tribune. On the other side, is it an all-time troll job or just a coincidence? Plus, still on the show today, Mike Schmidt, offensive line coach for San Diego State. We had Eric Schmidt yesterday, the new defensive coordinator. And also coming up on the show today at 5 p.m., Brian Bennett, first bracketologist of the season at 5 p.m. Don't kill me, Jim. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. All right. Is it an all-time sports troll job or just a coincidence? That's next. It is interesting that, you know how I'm such like on air and I'm a button up guy, right? You know what I mean? Like
Sure.
I present myself better than like you, where you're just like, this sucks.
Sure.
Would you agree with that sentiment? Basically, Brent has a feel for it. Brent, am I typically
Yes, you're
buttoned
buttoned
up?
You're buttoned up.
Yes.
Right?
I am
and
not
you're
buttoned
not.
up.
Okay, so
I'm
that's a
off the
little bit of
cuff.
the play here, like the yin and the yang.
Yes, I've always been off the cuff. This is me.
But I'm the one that has been like quote unquote dumped on the radio because of curse words I've said live on air, but we have a delay that Brent can then utilize. So if someone curses, you would think it would be Jim.
Oh yeah.
Because on YouTube, you routinely, I mean, how often do you curse on YouTube? Every 5 or 10 minutes.
No, it depends on the show. I don't curse every 5 to 10 minutes. I might drop an S-bomb, like
that's a curse,
but not regularly. It all depends on what is happening. If there is a situation where it deserves me to cuss, then I will cuss a lot.
Right.
But if we're just like talking about, I don't know, whatever, I'm not going to just drop a bunch of F-bombs because I drop a bunch of F-bombs in my life.
But we were just kind of conversing about the idea that the truth is, in the history of Jon and Jim, I've been dumped more than you have,
You've
right?
called me an a-hole on the radio and you didn't say a-hole.
I didn't know you couldn't say that. And again, I'm the buttoned up guy. I forget what else I've been.
And it wasn't even
dumped
like
for.
You called me
I
that.
like screamed.
You said, yeah, people on Twitter think he's just a giant a-hole.
And Brent looked at me like I had 4 heads. Like, what did you just do? You can't say that. I know.
I figured you'd know better.
I know. I figured I would too.
And what else did you say? You said something
I said
else
something
too.
else.
Well, you said it twice.
Did I really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's separate instances,
Yes.
I think.
Wow.
That's right. I do remember that. Anyway, Mike Schmidt is going to join us coming up in a handful of minutes. San Diego State's offensive line coach. You can go home again. He was here. He left.
He can come home again?
He worked for Dino Babers, by the way, at Syracuse. Stop talking. Sean Lewis's mentor in coaching, one of them, Dino Babers, and Mike Schmidt worked for Dino Babers. Anyway, Mike Schmidt will join us. No relation to Mike Schmidt. Will join us coming up in about 10 minutes. Okay, so the Giants, the San Francisco Giants, not the New York Football Giants, the San Francisco Giants. You saw this, Jim?
Yeah.
I mean, this is pretty amazing. They are giving away Mickey Mouse ears to the first 15,000 fans. Okay, it's like part of a Disney promotion. Say, okay, they're giving away. Well, it's against the Dodgers.
No. I mean, like, what's the date?
It's June 30th.
Okay.
So it's in the summertime. But what makes it kind of an all-time troll move, again, if this is against the Brewers, I don't think anyone's caring. You're just thinking it's a Disney giveaway. But the Dodgers have got the Mickey Mouse trophy.
Yes.
And the Giants, all-time rivals of the Dodgers, are giving away Mickey Mouse ears when taking on the LA Dodgers. That's not just a coincidence, is it?
I love it.
Right?
I don't care what team it was going to be. I think it's appropriate that it's the Giants because it's...
No, appropriate that it's the Dodgers.
Well, no, it's appropriate as it's the Giants doing this giveaway versus the Dodgers. What I meant
absolutely.
Is if it was any team, like say they went to play the Baltimore Orioles this year and the Baltimore Orioles was doing this giveaway, I would say, I love it. But with the Giants, it takes it to another level of, you can't tell me that this isn't a troll job. No way. I like,
has to be.
Whoever their chief of marketing is, whoever their Eric Grupner is, right? That does all this stuff. You couldn't tell me it's not a troll job. No way could you convince me it's not.
The amazing part of it is if you go to the Giants promo schedule on the internet, is that not only does it say, it shows all the promotions, obviously, but for the June 30th game, the way it displays is versus LA Dodgers, but then it's an asterisk to recognize the promotion. And then the promotion says under the logo and name for the Dodgers, Mickey Mouse ears hat. Asterisk. Mickey Mouse ears hat. Giants Dodgers.
And
June 30th.
And see, I love it. And that's a reason why I didn't have any problem with the Kershaw meme last year. Like,
right. You're saying that
I respect a good troll. I do. If it's done in the right way. Like if it's done where you're like, oh, that's funny. And I thought the Kershaw meme might have been over the top, I guess, but at the same time, I wasn't going to bitch and complain about it. I didn't have a problem with it. There were some players that were kind of soft and like had problems with it. And even Padre players
I had a problem
had some
with it.
problem with
I
it.
knew
You had a problem with it.
It's not being soft. It's just don't mess with like the ethos. I see that differently. The Mickey Mouse ears is just comically funny.
But they're also doing this same thing. They're trolling and making fun of the Dodgers.
True.
It's the same concept. There's nothing different here.
I think the Kershaw meme on the video board in the season after a win was a little more like in your face, like, I don't know. It's a little early to be playing games like that.
Okay. Maybe if they took 2 or 3 or they swept the Dodgers that series, I would have been more okay with it. I think other people would have been more okay with it if it was after that. Like, oh, we just swept the Dodgers.
Yeah, exactly.
Troll meme.
But it was like game 1 of a series.
Game 1.
Of course, they lost the next 2 games.
Game 16 of the year, and then they went in the complete tank.
Mickey Mouse ears for the first 15,000 fans against the LA Dodgers.
I don't have a problem with it at all.
No, either do I. It's hilarious.
It's good because then you're going to have people in the stands wearing Mickey Mouse ears. The Dodgers are there and then after the Dodgers win, 12-2.
People leave with their Mickey Mouse ears.
People have Mickey Mouse ears at least.
On the other side, San Diego State's new and former offensive line coach Mike Schmidt back in the Mesa working for Sean Lewis will join us next on Jon and Jim. All right, hey guys, it's Schaefer. You need to get to the brand new Novo Brazil brewing location now open in Mission Valley. I was there this past weekend for their grand opening. It's spectacular. They've got their brand new kombucha, Aztecs Raspberry Kombucha, which was taste tested by San Diego State players, Jaden Ledee, Lamont Butler, Micah Parrish, and others. That product, a portion of the proceeds goes right to the Mesa Foundation Collective, which benefits San Diego State men's and women's basketball players. This is an amazing place. They've got 5 area locations. I've been to, I think, all 5 of them at this point. The Mission Valley location is the ultimate San Diego sports bar. It is truly incredible. 350-seat restaurant, full bar menu, 60 taps of Novo Brazil beer. They've got the Aztecs Raspberry Kombucha. They've got seltzers, eclectic food like sandwiches and tacos and burgers, empanadas, appetizers, Brazilian-inspired entrees, and much, much more. They've got 5 area locations, including the brand new one in Mission Valley with unbelievable TV screens for your sports viewing pleasures. They've got an Otay Ranch location and many, many more. To find out more information, go to novobrew.com. Again, novobrew.com.
All right, this update is brought to you by Indeed.com. Aztecs basketball last night. They beat Nevada 71-59, improving to 4-1 in conference play. Next up, they take on Boise State this Saturday morning, 10 a.m. tip-off there. You can listen to that game right here on your home of the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. NFL news of the day. Bill Belichick is getting a second interview with the Falcons, and Mike McCarthy officially will return as the Cowboys head coach next year. New year, new hiring needs. Indeed's end-to-end solution helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all year round. Schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from your Indeed dashboard. Learn more by visiting Indeed.com/credit.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? Hour 2 of Jon and Jim. We told you yesterday, San Diego State football winter conditioning is underway. We caught up with Eric Schmidt yesterday. He's the new defensive coordinator on the Mesa. It's good today to catch up with the newest Aztecs O-line coach, Mike Schmidt, proving the point you can go home again because Mike played on the Mesa in the mid-2000s, coached here for over a decade as well, and now he's returning for the 2024 season. So, Mike, we appreciate you taking time here on the home of the Aztecs, San Diego Sports 760. What's this like for you? I mean, you spent 10, 15 years here, left for a couple of years. You're coming back. How excited are you for the opportunity?
Yeah, I'm really excited for the opportunity. Obviously, thanks for having me, and kind of owe everything to Coach Lewis for giving me another shot back home, and looking to kind of duplicate what we did here in the past, and obviously put our own touch on it with the new offense. And we're really excited about being back home.
You know, when you left the program a couple years ago and now returning, what's different about this program now from when you left just a couple years ago?
Yeah, I think that the energy and the excitement and kind of a new brand. I think we're keeping some of the old traditions, but putting our own touch on it. You know, I got to kind of know Coach Lewis when I was out there at Syracuse University working for Dino Babers, and you know, that's probably one of the reasons I ended up here. So it's kind of unique on how everything turns out, but just grateful for the opportunity and really looking forward to the new era of Aztec football.
What changes, obviously? I mean, Sean Lewis is known for tempo. Obviously, he learned a lot of his offensive philosophies, and correct me if I'm wrong, from his, working relationship with Dino Babers at a number of spots. So, like, what changes for you with your offensive line when the tempo is obviously increased drastically from, the tempo you were playing with in the mid 2010s?
Yeah, I mean, I think the tempo is one thing, and when I went to Syracuse and they were asking me the same questions on how it would change,
Yep.
and all that. Really, the difference is the speed to the next spot, and we are going to be pushing the tempo. We are going to be playing faster there, but the way in which you play the game up front, it's never going to change. You got to play with great attitude. You got to have an edge about yourself, and you got to play with great effort, and those three things are going to carry over in any style of offense from when football was first created till way down the road here,
So you're coming into this season. How do you feel about the current roster that you have? I know you just got on the job, but for you, looking at this roster, and how do you feel about it?
Yeah, still sorting through and getting to know the guys. So I won't have a good understanding kind of where we are as a unit probably until some way midway through spring ball and all that. The thing I do realize is watching them play a year ago and kind of just what I've seen in workouts and comparing them to different groups I've had there. I mean, we have a lot of work. We're going to continue to try to recruit and retain the best football players we possibly can. And, in the meantime, with the guys we do have in the program, it's my job as a position coach to do everything I can in my power to maximize their development as football players. And that's how we're going to attack it and approach it.
Mike Schmidt is with us right now. He's San Diego State's offensive line coach, officially announced back at the Mesa here earlier today. How have you kind of evolved as a coach through these additional experiences? I mean, you spent so much time with Brady and Rocky, but then, as you mentioned, Dino Babers, and then with another former Aztec, Zach Arnett, and Mississippi State. How have you changed as a coach over the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think all that stuff, and that was kind of everybody asked, well, you're coming back, you ended up leaving this place and all that. I think, being here for so long, it was time for a little bit of a change of scenery for me, a little to rejuvenate myself a little bit and to challenge myself all the way across the country in a different league where you didn't know anything about it. And just those experiences of going and playing against different defenses, coaching a different athlete from a different region, and building those relationships with those guys has made me a more complete coach. And also, after going through last year down at Mississippi State and being let go for the first time in my career, I think, when someone's going to let you go and your services aren't wanted, I think there's a huge motivation factor there that kind of rejuvenates yourself as well and makes you want to go back out there and prove it, but still to this day, the greatest time I've ever had as a coach is here on the Mesa, and being able to be at a place and be so sustainable in a career and having the ability not only to develop players, but go through the whole process and the recruiting part, the development, the retention, and seeing those guys graduate and go on and play at the next level. Those have been my greatest accomplishments through this whole thing.
When you got the call from Coach Sean Lewis, what was one thing that stood out to you about him that I think, Aztecs fans are going to just fall in love with?
Yeah, I mean, his energy is contagious. I think that, and then when it did happen, and he had alerted me it had a potential to happen, and he was so quick to get me on a plane and get me out here, and that showed a lot to me because he trusts the people around. And, I can build that rapport with him where he trusts me just like he does all those other guys that he worked with that put in a good recommendation for myself.
What were the winters like in Syracuse, New York? You spent 15 years in San Diego, and then you're in Syracuse, New York. I mean, how much of an adjustment was that?
Yeah, I mean, going into it was going to be cold. You just don't know it was going to be cold for 5.5, 6 months. So that was the shock. That was the shock. So
I was going to ask you too. I mean, you spent so much time here, but then they built Snapdragon Stadium. You're having all the success. I mean, running the football like no program in the country with DJ and Rashad and others over that decade-long run, and now they have the facilities to go along with this program. What is Snapdragon Stadium going to mean to Sean Lewis, your staff, the recruiting process moving forward?
Yeah, it's an unbelievable facility, and it really shows the commitment not only to Coach Lewis, but it shows the commitment to the Aztec football program. And when you have something of that standard right there to bring potential athletes and show them the facilities that we do have, I think it just shows them a commitment to football down here in Southern California, and it should definitely help in our ability to go recruit student athletes.
Mike Schmidt back on the Mesa, officially San Diego State's run game coordinator, offensive line coach, played here in the 2000s, was a GA here for a couple of years, offensive line coach for nearly a decade, returning for 2024. Coach, we're glad to have you back. Congratulations on this new and next opportunity, and thanks for doing it today.
Oh, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for everything you do for San Diego State.
All right, great stuff. Mike Schmidt with Sean Lewis. Remember, we had Bill O'Boyle on the show. Mm-hmm. He had been named the offensive line coach within the last 4, 5, 6 weeks.
Yeah.
He had an opportunity, though, after being named O-line coach, to go to Northwestern.
Yeah.
It's an interesting business. I mean, the comings and goings of the players, we talk about all the time. Same thing in coaching. So think about that. Mike Schmidt spent 15 years here, played here, left, and now he's back.
So in a couple days, Mike Schmidt will go somewhere else, and then we'll interview another offensive line coach for the Aztecs.
No, is it us?
It's us.
Maybe it's us.
That's what I was going down. Is like it's us. We're the problem here.
Can we talk a little bit about last night at Viejas with San Diego State? We can, because it's our show. We can talk about
we do whatever we want. Yeah.
So this was a game that we kind of coined going into that the Aztecs need to find a way to win. We didn't know if it was a must win, but it was kind of like a must win.
Any home game this upcoming year,
gotta win.
Got to win,
basically. But then you find out an hour before the game, oh, by the way, Darion Tramel's not playing. He's out due to illness.
Yeah.
So now you've got one true point guard on your roster with experience really. You have BJ Davis as a freshman. You have other options, but you had Lamont Butler, and you're so used to having both Lamont and Darion, and Darion's meant so much to this program over the last 2 years. You're playing this veteran Nevada team, and all of a sudden you look up in the second half, and I know you were watching, and I was there. They had a large lead, San Diego State. All of a sudden it's gone
like that.
53-all, 8-9 minutes to play, and the Aztecs, to their credit, found a way. They outscored Nevada down the stretch 18-6. Again, without Darion Trammell, with all kinds of things going against them for a while in that game. But to San Diego State's credit, they've done this in close games this year. They just found a way to win a game they had to have.
Well, once again, Jay Powell continues to show just how valuable he is becoming late in games. And Dutch, I think there was a conversation a couple days ago about are you thinking about potentially moving Jay Powell into a starter role,
right?
And putting Elijah Saunders on the bench. And I think he said something along the lines of, it's not about who starts, it's about who finishes. And it's exactly right. I think Jay Powell for this team is infinitely more valuable coming off the bench than as a starter, because he's right. Jay Powell's finishing games. He's making big time plays. The 3-pointer he had last night to extend the lead to 10 was massive,
huge.
Now I think the 3-pointer by Reese Waters was a bigger shot, but the Jay Powell 3 was kind of not the nail in the coffin of that game, but essentially it was kind of like the dagger 3, and he hit it. And then you saw what he did against San Jose State, the block to win that game. And he's Gonzaga. He finished the Gonzaga game. He is showing that he is a guy that is turning into, we were all worried about, hey, Aguka Rope. Who are they going to find to replace Aguka Rope?
Yeah.
Jay Powell's not Aguka Rope, but you need somebody that's going to do all the little things out there and be a kind of a glue guy and get big time block, get a big time rebound, hit a big time shot. And Jay Powell has shown that he can absolutely do that for this team.
Yeah, 2 putback dunks in the second half as well. Remember a year ago, they were blessed with health, right?
Yeah.
Very few injuries, same starting 5 every game other than one, I think. It was a non-D1 game. Of their 9 players in their rotation, those 9 players combined to miss a couple of games. That's just not the case this year. Now, the good news is it's just bumps and bruises this year. It's 1 game here. It's 1 game there. Jaden Ledee missed a game because of an elbow. Darion's had a shoulder. Reese has had a ankle, right? Miles Burtis had this or that
thing. Yeah.
Yet they're 15-3.
Jaden had a shoulder thing.
And Dutch told me last night post-game, he's like, you've heard me say this before, John. It's like, we don't worry about who we don't have available. We just worry about who we do have. And last night we didn't have Darion available. We knew it would impact us. He's a great player. But we put ourselves in a position where we won the game. And Lamont Butler played 35 or so minutes, and they needed him to do that. But I'm telling you, Nevada, they made a really good offensive team look pedestrian. They got terrific offensive weapons. Jared Lucas, Keenan Blackshear are outstanding offensive weapons, and San Diego State did it with defense. That's in the DNA. And they're 15-3, and now they're going to Boise, and this is going to be Saturday morning. You can hear it on San Diego Sports 760, and we'll see if they can play better Saturday on the road in a hostile environment than they played last Saturday in New Mexico in a hostile environment.
The depth and the health of the team last year was you're not blessed that many times
right
to have
what are the odds
that much depth where Jaden Ledee is your 6th man off the bench, maybe 7th man off the bench, because
right. How many minutes did he have?
He was behind, I think, Adam Seiko and AG, because AG came off the bench as well.
Johnson.
Keyshawn,
think about the starters though. The starters played so many minutes. Keyshawn and Nathan played a lot of minutes. So there were only so many minutes available for forwards, and AG was getting a lot of minutes.
It was getting a lot of minutes, yeah. And you had Adam Seiko come off the bench. It was just that team last year, the depth on that team, it's
that was bonkers.
Yeah, you're not going to get many teams with that much depth in college.
You had an All-American on your bench because Jaden Ledee will be either a 1st, 2nd, or 3rd team All-American if this continues.
Right.
I promise you that. So you had an All-American who a year ago, think about that. You had an All-American last year who played 18 minutes a game, which is a lot of minutes. Yeah. It's not crazy.
But now he's playing 34.
He's now playing 33 minutes per game. And Dutch said this throughout the NCAA tournament. Remember, we've talked about this a little bit on air, and I think we talked about it maybe with Darren at some point in the last week or two. Imagine if Jaden would have played 30 minutes a game last year. Well, hold on. They were in the national championship game. What better could have occurred?
Yeah.
They made it all the way to a national championship.
It's not like he didn't play last year. I mean, he hit the second biggest shot behind Lamont Butler in the Final Four game. The jumper.
He hit 2. He hit a jumper out of a timeout, and there was another. He got to the lane and went over their 7-foot Russian center. The 2 made field goals before Lamont shot were Jaden Ladiz.
Yeah, so it's not like he didn't play last year. He
No.
hit some of the biggest shots in school history.
Yeah.
If not for the Lamont Butler at the buzzer. So he was playing last year. He just wasn't playing at the level he is now.
Right.
But this team in particular going forward, they're obviously completely different from last year, even though they have a bunch of same players. I think the scoring on this team, like they can score more than last year's team. I think they have more weapons than last year's team. I think Reese Waters, Jay Powell,
those additions, man,
they
fit in perfectly.
Yep. I mean, are you surprised? Honestly, I'm not.
No, but it's amazing. I mean, I'm not surprised, other than the fact is the guys don't sit down anymore. You got to be ready to go like from day one.
And I was worried about just the stature of Jay Powell, and I'm like, okay, dude is lanky and long, but can he go down low and get you a big time rebound if need be? Like, is he going to be able to go up against a guy like Jaden Ladiz? There's obviously not many Jaden Ladiz. There's a one-of-one type of body, but you get my point. Like the big guys down low, how's Jay Powell going to, perform? And he's shown that because of his length and his size, that he can absolutely go down low and get a big rebound for you or a big time block. And the best part is, he can get you a big time 3 too.
Yeah, he's very stretchy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he really is a stretch 4 because he likes to live outside, but he also can get some of those loose balls and rebounds you were accustomed to seeing from Aguilar. But you're right. Metrically speaking, the offense is better than last year. And by the way, remember, everyone's like, oh my gosh, how do you replace defensively Nathan Mensah and Aguilar? Like 2 all-time defenders in the history of the program. Aztecs right now are 20th in the nation metrically on defense. 20th. That's really good. Last year, they were a top 5 caliber, but it's not like they've taken this huge step back defensively either. The question is going to be this. What are they going to do on the road to create separation to potentially win another regular season title? Because one of these teams at the top of the league is going to beat someone on the road. Obviously, that's just going to happen. So they're going to need a win or 2, whether it's in Boise or at Utah State or Colorado State, right? We know how this works, and they don't have to be perfect there, but they're going to need a win or 2, and Saturday presents an opportunity. The issue, a lot like New Mexico last weekend, New Mexico was coming off a road loss, and they needed the game. Boise State's now coming off a home loss, and they really need the game. So can San Diego State match Boise when they go to Boise on their home floor, nationally televised game on Saturday? You'd like to think they can. They've won a lot of these games over the years, and I'm expecting a really good game. I was surprised that New Mexico ended up winning the other day by 18. I expect a much closer game when San Diego State and Boise State meet on Saturday.
It'll be tough if Darion Trammell is not suited up for this team.
True.
Just because on the road, it hurts you. At home, you can kind of get away with it a little bit just because the home crowd and everything like that. But on the road, you need all hands on deck in a crazy environment. And weren't you saying?
What was I saying
during the Fusion or before that this is the first CBS game at Boise?
Yeah, ever. So they're amped.
Yeah, they're going to be crazy.
And I think that's accurate. Bob Beeler, who's the voice of the Broncos, I believe said that today, that they've now, of course, with football, they've had a lot of nationally televised games. With basketball, Boise State is an interesting story in that they've been good at basketball, but they've never won an NCAA tournament game, ever. And they've been in the tournament each of the last couple of years. And again, the Mountain West has really, what's the saying? I'm terrible with this. Something about rising tide lifts all boats.
There you go.
Boom. San Diego State's the classic example of that for the Mountain West.
Yeah.
San Diego State's utterly dominated this league. And with time, other programs have invested comparably to San Diego State, and other programs are trying to follow the mold of the Aztecs. And what's happened is it's not just a one-team league. You've got 4, 5, 6, 7 really good programs right now in the Mountain West, which I think ultimately is good for the Aztecs. And I think it's good for those that follow San Diego State basketball. But yeah, this isn't some cakewalk. Hey, San Diego State's going to win this league by 4 games. That's just not how it is right now. And that's a credit more to the league than anything else.
I think you look at like Gonzaga in the past when they just dominated the
Completely
WCC.
Dominated. Yep.
And then you get to the tournament and they crumble because the competition is better than what they faced in WCC. Like they might go 30-1 in their conference, and then we got to go up against a really good team, and they lose. And then obviously they made the Final Four that one year, and they lost to, I believe, UCLA, right?
On a last-second shot during COVID. They've made 2 Final Fours and 1 championship game. I think I have that right.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But just the history of Gonzaga.
Yep.
When they get to the tournament, if they have a really good season and their conference is down, it usually hurts them. This is the complete opposite for the Aztecs. Their conference is really good. They're going to be battle tested when it comes to tournament time. They're not going to be a team that's going to go up against somebody and say, "Oh, we haven't faced that before."
Right. By the way, do we have Shen Yun tickets? Let's not bury the lead. We don't. Do we have a giveaway? We don't. All right. Trainwreck Radio. We don't have that either later this hour.
Oh.
What we do have, though, still to come, Brian Bennett. Speaking of the Aztecs, he's a bracketologist. First bracketologist of the season.
I'll ask one question.
Inside of 2 months.
I have one question.
What's your one question? Where would the Aztecs be seated if the season ended today?
That's the only question I have.
Okay. I'll let you have that question. Brian Bennett.
Take it all.
Bracketologist from The Athletic will join us coming up at 5 p.m. On the other side, we will get to the wrap. A lot more to get to. We're here until 6 p.m. Stay with us on Jon and Jim. Hey guys, it's Schaefer, and lower mortgage rates are here, and smart homeowners are wiping out all their credit card debt with help from Loan Pronto. Right now, Loan Pronto has cash out refinancing. They've got a rate of just 5.49%. That is a huge drop. So you can get refinanced now, get cash out of your home's equity to wipe out all those credit cards and other high interest loans. You could save hundreds every month with lower payments, or if you still have a mortgage rate in the 3s, you can use Loan Pronto's Express Equity line of credit. Just get the cash you need and leave your primary mortgage intact. Loan Pronto can get you $50, $75, $100, even $200,000 in just a matter of days. Bottom line, Loan Pronto's got several options to help you erase debt and take control of your finances. Call today, and you can even skip your next 2 mortgage payments. Call Loan Pronto right now. Here's the number. You can jot it down, put it in your phone. 619-207-4336. Again, 619-207-4336 or loanpronto.com. That's 619-207-4336. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, 5.49%, has 6.39% APR, subject to lender approval.
All right, this update is brought to you by Indeed.com. The Aztecs won last night versus Nevada, 71-59. They're 4-1 in conference play. Next up for the Aztecs, they take on Boise State this Saturday morning at 10 a.m. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. NFL news of the day. The Falcons have interviewed Bill Belichick for a second time, and Mike McCarthy officially will return to the Cowboys next season. New year, new hiring needs. Indeed's end-to-end solution helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all year round. Schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from your Indeed dashboard. Learn more by visiting Indeed.com/credit.
All right. So, we stream on YouTube. Some of you know that, some don't, but we do stream on YouTube.
Go subscribe and watch us there.
Because I'm always, what is the deal? My camera, for whatever reason, why? Jim, help me. All right, Jim is helping me. Oh, look, if you're watching on YouTube right now, you can see Jim's sweatshirt, which Jim's sweatshirt is so on brand for Jim. It's just a white sweatshirt. Like, Jim is the classic, guy that wears something. Everything you wear has nothing on it. It's just like a blue shirt, a gray sweatshirt. Like, you'll never wear a logo.
It's like a tan.
It's too bad you were born in 90 and not when I was born, because white t-shirts were the thing in high school. You missed it by 10 years.
I always wear the white t-shirts though. And
yeah, no, but you could have wore everyone was wearing white t-shirts.
Good problem with that?
The thing.
Kind of. You're very interesting.
What do you want me to wear?
I don't know.
I wear Viore shirts.
Oh, okay. You've been wearing Viore shirts for since Aaron introduced you 6 months ago.
No big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And
you had not heard of Viore 8 months ago.
No, I know.
Okay.
And what is it? I don't know. Just regular. I just wear regular clothes. Get off my back, bro.
Bracketologist Brian Bennett will join us coming up at 5 p.m. He wears things that have things on t-shirts.
So he wears clothes?
He wears clothes. All right, let's get to this.
What seed will the Aztecs be in the Mountain West tournament?
I am going to go with screw it. I'm going to go with the 1 seed. I think they're going to get the 1 seed. Anything lower than 2, I think uh-oh. But hey, they still have a chance, even if they were lower than a 2 seed, to win the entire tournament because they're that good.
Yeah, I mean, this league, I wouldn't be surprised if they were the 1 seed because of San Diego State, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they weren't the 1 seed because the league is really good and they could win the Mountain West tournament from really any spot in the top 5. The reason I say that is anyone that finishes in the top 5 gets a quote-unquote bye until the quarterfinal round. If you don't get a bye, it's impossible to imagine you win the Mountain West tournament. That's 4 games in 4 days, and 3 of those games would be against theoretically really high-quality opponents. So I'm with you. I think they got a really good shot to be the 1 seed. It will not be easy. But yeah, let's speak it into existence. 1 seed for San Diego State in mid-March.
Give us the 1 seed.
All right, next question.
Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl in his 5th season in Green Bay. Will history repeat itself next year in his 5th season with the Cowboys?
Dude, they're going to have so much pressure next year. So much.
Don't they have pressure? They have pressure this year.
It's every year. It's the
I know,
Cowboys.
but after getting their ass kicked by the Packers,
right?
You have 1 year left on your deal.
Yeah.
You thought Mike McCarthy was tight before? This upcoming season, if they get in the postseason, by the way,
what's he have to do to keep his job? Win 1 game or more?
I think he's got to at least get to the NFC Championship game.
Well, good luck. It's been 30 years.
I know. And by the way, the last 16 division winners in the NFC East have all been different every single year. No back-to-back winners the last 16 years, I think.
Is that right?
Maybe longer than that, maybe shorter than that.
Are you sure? Maybe longer than that, maybe shorter than that. Is what you just said.
It's been a long time since there's been a repeat winner
in the NFC East.
In the NFC East for the division championship.
Okay.
So the Cowboys won the division this year. And if history repeats itself, they're not going to win it next year. And if you don't win the NFC East next year, you're on the road. You probably are going to start on the road, obviously, because you'd be a 5 seed, or 6 or 7.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, there's so much pressure on them. No, I don't think.
So you don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl next year?
No, I don't think so.
Brent, what do you got for the NFC East?
No, he's right. There hasn't been a repeat champion since the 04 Eagles, and they won it 4 years in a row.
That's pretty incredible because Washington's been a non-factor by and large for 20 years. So you have
they've won it
3
3 times.
Is that right? 3 times in the last 20 years.
Since the Eagles repeated, the Giants, Eagles, Cowboys, Giants, Cowboys, Eagles, Giants, Washington, Eagles, Cowboys, Washington, Cowboys, Eagles, Washington, and then it just goes Cowboys.
Yeah, that
Eagles
does
again.
surprise me. No, the Cowboys are not winning the Super Bowl next year. That's obvious. Now, can the Cowboys win a playoff game next year? Yeah, they could probably win a playoff game next year. That's the ceiling. They're not going to a Super Bowl. It's just not happening. I'm sorry. Next question.
Do you think Jay Powell should start for the Aztecs?
No, I think that coming off the bench fits his role perfectly. I know there's discussion about maybe putting him in the starting lineup over Elijah Saunders. I think Jay Powell makes this team better by coming off the bench.
Yeah, I like him as like the energy off the bench. And by the way, Saunders is filling a important role as well. He's been a very good defender. If you look at some of the defensive numbers, Saunders has been a good defender. Some of his scoring has dropped off, his shooting from outside has dropped off. But I think Saunders, people get so carried away in basketball with starters. It has no impact. You could start and play 1 second. That's the only requirement really of a starter. You could play 39 minutes off a bench. So people get way too consumed with who starts. And I think whatever they're doing is working because they're 15-3 and they're playing really good basketball. So stick with what's working is what I would say. Next question.
Which quarterback has the most to prove this weekend in the divisional round?
Yes.
Most to prove.
Other than Brock Purdy, who clearly has the most to prove.
Dude, everybody hates Brock Purdy. It's so
Jim was
awesome.
telling me at the
That's
break.
actually my answer.
Yeah.
I think that's who
It is Brock.
Why,
Jim was telling me that he got some. Okay.
I'll tell you, because the national media has already anointed Jordan Love as the next Hall of Famer, so he doesn't have to prove anything in their eyes. So this is Purdy's chance. This isn't even me ripping Purdy for a change. I'm just saying he has the most to prove because the media has already anointed Jordan Love, so he doesn't have to prove anything to anybody.
I would
say, give me a break. He doesn't have to do anything. So,
well, 10-point home favorite. It's interesting to your point, Jim. It's like you can't win. If they win, you're supposed to win. If they lose, quote unquote, historical collapse, it's all on Purdy. So it's like there's no real winning here. If they win the game against the Packers, they're supposed to win.
Here's the quarterback that has the most to prove this weekend. Ready? Josh Allen. You're at home against Mahomes.
Yep.
This is your time. If you don't win it this year, if you don't get past the Chiefs this season, when are you going to get past the Chiefs?
Yeah.
And when are you going to get back to an AFC championship game? So you have everything set up perfectly for you. And you're going up against the Chiefs team. In the last 5 years, this would probably be considered their worst team. This is their time to get past the Chiefs. If you don't get past the Chiefs now, you're never getting past them. To me, it's just Josh Allen is not even close.
To me, it's Baker Mayfield. I'm kidding. I don't, I think you're spot on. I do think it's Josh Allen. The only thing that's unique about the Purdy conversation is you've heard routinely, I mean, you hear this narrative, it's not him, it's everyone else that makes him him. Can he prove some of those people wrong this weekend? I would say no. That's why he doesn't have the most to prove. If they win, you're supposed to win. Now, that'll change moving forward. It's not like if they win the Super Bowl, they were supposed to win the Super Bowl. He's going to get credit if they win the Super Bowl. Okay, he's going to play a role in them winning the Super Bowl. But I think this week, if they win it, I don't know how much credit he's going to get. Maybe he throws for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. He gets a lot of the credit. Or maybe they win 23-13 and people say, well, they were supposed to win 23-13.
It's amazing to me that if Brock Purdy was just the 9th overall draft pick,
yep,
and he was doing this, everyone would consider him like the next greatest thing ever.
Right.
But because he's the last draft pick, it's because of his teammates. It's crazy how shouldn't it be like we talk a lot about Tom Brady, obviously being drafted in the 6th round. Mm-hmm. And now Tom Brady, yes, he took crappy teams to places that those teams never should have been, and he turned into the greatest quarterback of all time. But I mean, it's praised how Tom Brady was a 6th round draft pick, and he did what he did. Not even saying Brock is even close to that. He has so much work.
Are you saying he's better?
No, I'm not. But a lot of times in the NFL, it's always praised. Hey, this guy was a 5th round draft pick. Now he's an all pro. Like that's crazy.
But not with Purdy.
Not with Purdy.
Yeah, it's like, no, it's Debo. No, it's his offensive line. No, it's his weapons. It's Christian. right?
Yeah.
It's like it's everyone else that has put him in this spot.
Every quarterback in the playoffs remaining is a first-round draft pick except for Brock Purdy.
That's crazy.
Every quarterback was drafted in the first round except for Brock Purdy, who was the last pick in the draft. And I hear Amy Trask on some podcast try to slight Purdy. It's like,
where do you have some system set up where anytime Purdy is mentioned, you get an alert and then you listen to it in its entirety?
Well, on the For You page on Twitter,
I never use that page. It's showing me like murders and people getting run over by trains.
well, then that's on you, buddy, because that is an algorithm based on your searches, like on your phone or whatever.
If I looked at your For You, you're getting the same thing. You're getting like cats jumping off balconies.
No, I'm not.
Niners and.
If I went to my For You page right now,
you're telling me you're not going to get anything weird on your For You page?
All right, ready? Here we go.
There's some, refresh that thing. You're telling me you're not getting any crazy weird videos of like planes going down?
So far, nothing.
But you know what I'm talking about. That's not on me because I'm not searching for planes and
so far
cats jumping off balconies.
All
right, on the other side, Josh Hader has a potential landing spot, plus a former Padre from last year, maybe leaving via free agency as well. In addition to Hader, we've got the latest next on Jon and Jim. All right, Josh Hader on the move. Where could he be heading? Plus another former Padre on his way out in free agency potentially as well. That's next. All right, Josh Hader, and we're not holding out hope, and most Padres fans aren't. That's fine. We all understand Josh Hader's on his way out. It probably makes sense. So the latest is Houston is a potential landing spot for Hader. We know how good Houston has been. They've been getting into the postseason, made deep runs, winning World Series. That's where obviously it would make sense if you have the money in order to do it. We've asked this question, Jim, recently. Like, is he quote unquote worth like a fifth year? Is he quote unquote worth 100 million overall, like Edwin Diaz, considering he only maybe throws 3 outs? And we've had that conversation. But Josh Hader on a team that could win a World Series, I mean, there's a lot to like with that because he's got a 1 ERA consistently. He's been among the best relievers in baseball.
Yeah, going into the postseason in 2022.
Yep,
he was a weapon. Now he wasn't really used much. It was just very disappointing how little he was used. You would have loved to seen him kind of leave it all out there, and he wasn't. And that's something that it's going to always be a what if, right? What if he was there versus Bryce Harper?
Right.
We'll never know. But in the postseason, having a lockdown closer is so important. It's so important. And if he's going to get $100 million, tell you what, wherever he goes, he better pitch a lot more than he did here.
Yeah, it's true. And if you get that deal, what are you waiting for? It's like, well, I've been misused previously, but if you get the $100 million, like it was reported earlier this month that Hader was aiming to set a new benchmark for relievers all time by passing Edwin Diaz.
Well, then you better go out there and pitch 3 days in a row. You better pitch multiple innings when needed. And if your team that you're on makes the postseason, you better be ready to go more than 1 inning.
So Diaz 5 years, 102. So, I mean, think about that. Hader, MLB trade rumors, by the way, projected earlier this offseason 6 years, 110, which is less per year, but more money overall. 6 years for a reliever is basically unheard of, like in the history of the game.
I think that if he was a guy that demanded to go out there for more than 3 outs, was a guy that actively wanted to pitch multiple innings, a guy that, would give the extra go the extra mile for his team, I think he would have been signed already. I really think that what happened last year, a lot of talk about his usage, and then at the end of the season, like, what are we in a playoff race when there were, like, I guess technically
like 5 out was 5 to play or something,
and then the whole usage thing that was talked a lot about last year. I do think teams are looking at that because they do everything. They do all the research.
Yeah.
Every single thing that was written or said or reported on somebody, they know about. So they know about Josh Hader coming from Milwaukee to San Diego. And if I were a team, I would not give him $100 million. No way in hell.
Here's why I disagree. I agree with your sentiment, but I disagree because I think once he gets this $100 million deal, it doesn't matter when he signs it. If he goes down as the richest reliever ever, that's what the market thinks he's worth.
But
even if it's February 1st or January 1st or December 1st.
I get it. But I think more teams would have been in on Josh Hader. Because the guy...
You're hearing some legit contenders potentially in. I mean, whether it's Houston, New York Yankees, we've heard the LA Dodgers. There's interest. And the timing of this stuff's weird. Like Bryce Miller told us a couple hours ago, like when he was in spring training when Hosmer signed. At the time, he was coveted. Manny Machado, one of the biggest free agents in baseball history.
Yeah.
Like, things play out in unique ways.
Yeah, I don't know, man. If I was a player, getting closer to spring training, I would get an itch.
Yeah.
I
agree
would be
with
sitting
that.
there with my family and
what's taking so long?
What's going on
with
here?
that? By the way, the other news within the last 30 minutes is Garrett Cooper, who the Padres traded for at the deadline last year. Reportedly, the Brewers have interest in signing Garrett Cooper. So there had been some speculation maybe the Padres would be in on Cooper, 33 years of age, had a really nice 2022. He did. He hit a little bit in 2022. I think he was an asset, right, when he was here. I mean, I could have seen a scenario where he'd be back in 2024, but maybe it proves the point that even a player of Cooper's caliber, for the money that it's going to take, the Padres don't deem it, worthwhile, or they don't have that money to sign a player like Garrett Cooper. And again, the Brewers reportedly have interest in signing Cooper, who's had some nice years in the big leagues, including in 2022. I don't know what he's going to get, but maybe more than the Padres have.
At the start of the offseason, I would have bet a lot that Garrett Cooper would be back.
Yep.
Doesn't look like it. I just kind of thought they need a first baseman. They need an upgrade over Jake Cronenworth, and this guy's offensively an upgrade over Jake Cronenworth at first base.
Mm-hmm.
Not by much, but still an upgrade.
Yep.
And I thought he did well while he was here last year.
I thought it was fine.
Had some moments, but again, not the impact that you were looking for when you made those trades at the deadline. But I thought that Garrett Cooper would have been like, you're a Padre next year, sign it up.
I agree. That would have been a candidate for me to return.
Wasn't a sexy move by any means necessary, but
no,
it just felt like the fit was there. But it just shows you, like, if they're not going to re-sign guys like Garrett Cooper.
Do we know what Garrett Cooper made last year? I mean, it was decent money. Like, he's going to get probably more than they have, is my point. Like, even if it's 5, 6, 7. Like, do they have 5, 6, 7? So last year he made 4.
Okay.
So 5.
Look, if you don't got, like, we talked about Luis Ariz, a trade there. He's making $12 million. I think if you told me right now, all right, they have $20 million left to in like the $20 million left to spend, I would say that they're only going to be willing to spend probably 13 max, just because they want to have wiggle room, like I said, going into next year.
Trade deadline, any moves they need to make.
Yeah, so if you get a guy for 7 and then another dude for 4 or 5, there you go.
So think about that, though. Let's walk through this for a second. Soto, you're taking $30 million off the books, what he would have been owed.
Mm-hmm.
Snell, you're taking
16, 17.
Okay, so now 30 plus 50, there's 45. Now I get it. Soto wasn't making 30 this past year.
Yeah.
But just hear me out. Then Hader, what was he making last year? 10, 12?
No, he's making like, I don't know.
15?
He's making closer to 20.
Okay. But all that money, and in return, they really haven't taken on anything. Now, maybe they're going to spend 13, like you said, or maybe they'll spend 20, but they've taken on very limited dollars. Some of the stuff coming back for Soto, these guys are going to be in the big leagues.
Yeah.
Matsui Go. I mean, limited dollars.
No, we know that.
But I mean, that's crazy. Like, it's all coming off the books, is what I'm saying. Nothing to this point is coming back around. I thought some would come back around. Maybe it still will. But like, if you traded for Alek Manoah, we talked about it off the top of the show, he doesn't make any money, which I guess is a good thing. But like, they're freeing up so much money and they're not taking any of that back on. That's a little surprising to me. I thought they'd be taking on more. Now there's still time to do it. But I mean, players like Eric Cooper or Alek Manoah or whomever, at some point they're gonna have to spend a little bit here to finish this off. They're gonna have to spend a little bit.
What did everybody say when Soto was traded? Oh, don't worry. They're gonna use that money to go out and sign. Guess what?
Not yet.
I haven't done it yet.
They haven't. All right, Brian Bennett's going to join us on the other side, our first bracketologist of the year. We're inside of 2 months until Selection Sunday. Jim can take the next 20 minutes off. Brian Bennett from The Athletic will join us next on Jon and Jim.
This update's brought to you by Indeed.com. Aztecs back in the win column as they beat Nevada last night at Viejas Arena, 71-59. They're now 4-1 in conference play. Next up for the Aztecs, they go back on the road, take on Boise State this Saturday morning, 10 a.m. tip-off there. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. And NFL news of the day, Bill Belichick is getting a second interview with the Falcons, and Mike McCarthy will officially return the Cowboys next season. New year, new hiring needs. Indeed's end-to-end solution helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all year round. Schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from your Indeed dashboard. Learn more by visiting Indeed.com/credit.
All right, San Diego and Southern California, what's going on? This is hour 3 of Jon and Jim. We are with you until 6 p.m. Jim's back page is still ahead. We're getting you ready as well for Saturday, a showdown in the Mountain West between San Diego State and Boise State, 10 a.m. Pacific. We'll have that for you right here on San Diego Sports 760. We have the Athletics' Brian Bennett with us right now. He covers college hoops. He does rankings and brackets. And, we're still 2 months out, Brian, and we appreciate you joining us here in San Diego. Is there more interest today in brackets and bracketology than there ever has been? It feels like I question whether I should get in contact with someone 2 months out. I mean, Selection Sunday is 2 months from yesterday, but there's interest, right? People are interested starting when? January, December, when?
Yeah, I usually start mine just right after Christmas, right after the non-conference season is over. At that point, there's quite a bit of hay in the barn, and teams have played their non-conference schedule, which really gives you a good idea of, how strong they are and what they need to do in conference. So once college football wraps up, I think you start to see more attention paid to it. And another thing is the human polls aren't very good. I think you saw when San Diego State won at Gonzaga in the following week, the Aztecs weren't ranked and Gonzaga was.
Right.
I mean, that was ridiculous. So would you rather see that, which has no, impact on the NCAA tournament, or would you rather see someone tell you where your team really stands when it comes to the most important thing in college basketball?
Yeah, I think college basketball is hopefully, with the fans as well, is morphing towards looking at these type of rankings instead of an AP poll, because we get a lot of that here in San Diego. Yep. If the Aztecs aren't ranked in the AP poll, why didn't they rank? It's guys, their metrics overall are very good. And with that being said, where do you have the Aztecs right now in your bracket?
Yeah, next bracket comes out tomorrow for the Athletic, and right now I've got them as a number 6 seed. I think there's a possibility they could still move up from that. But that puts them at 23rd, I think, on my seed line. So right about where you probably have them in some of your metrics and things like that, and even some of the human polls. So I think that's a pretty good spot for them. I've also got Colorado State as a number 6 seed, and potentially Utah State moving up if Florida Atlantic loses tonight and they are down big at halftime.
So, so the Mountain West, people have been talking about this. They got 4 teams in the tournament last year. They got 4 teams in the year before. Of course, San Diego State was the team to break through, first Mountain West team ever to get to a Final Four, and they ended up in a national championship game. The metrics for this league are really good. One of the better metrics in the country, including power leagues. What's reasonable here? I mean, 4, 5 more. What do you think?
I'll tell you this: before Boise lost to UNLV earlier this week, I had 6 teams.
Wow.
Which is pretty wild. And, I wouldn't project that's where it would end up. But just when you looked at the metrics, I think, that was kind of a bad loss for Boise, although, he's not bad. It was at home, so it was a quad 3 loss. But you've got 4 teams in the top 28 of the net. You got Nevada, who's sitting there at 45th. And then Boise just a bit outside at 54. But Boise has 3 quad 1 wins, 3 wins in quad 2. So that's 6 total. And that's pretty good. And they played a really good schedule, the top 50 schedule. Had decent wins out of conference. And of course, they beat Colorado State. They won at Nevada. So that UNLV loss was a little tricky, but they still got time to make it up, because the great thing about the Mountain West is there's all kinds of quad 1 opportunities in the league, which didn't used to be the case.
So Brian Bennett is with us right now. He covers college hoops and bracketology for The Athletic. We'll have a brand new bracket coming out tomorrow. We're less than 2 months now from Selection Sunday. In your opinion, Brian, what's better for the Mountain West? Is it preferred to have one team emerge, so to speak? Let's say someone has a lot of success against this upper echelon and goes 15-3 in the league and secures like a number 3 or number 4 seed in the NCAA tournament, but in the process maybe knocks another team out. Is that better overall for the league, or is it preferred to get 5 or 6 teams in, but everyone's got a comparable seed, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11?
Yeah, I think you want someone at the top who can legitimately make a Final Four, like a San Diego State last year. So you want that one powerful team, I think. I'm not sure that team exists in the Mountain West this year. It could, but we're just not sure at this point. But then I think you want multiple teams to get in and to win a game at least. The one thing the Mountain West lacks at this point is success in the tournament outside of San Diego State. They've really been, of course, the flag carrier for the league. Obviously, what they did last year and some things they've done in the past. But Boise State's never won a tournament game. Utah State had some chances, couldn't get it done. Colorado State had some disappointment a couple years ago. So you need those teams to get in and do some things in the tournament, and then that brings even more attention to your league. Not only that, but all those NCAA tournament units, which translate into millions and millions of dollars for the conference.
No doubt about it. All right, let's talk about the West in general. I want to say Mark Few, every year he's been at Gonzaga, I want to say this is accurate, he's been in the NCAA tournament. Yep. Will he be able to get his team to the NCAA tournament without winning the WCC auto bid?
It's possible, but I think they're going to have to win at Kentucky. They play there February 10th.
Right.
That's really their last kind of statement game. And they haven't won any Quad 1 games. They'll get some Quad 1 opportunities against St. Mary's, against San Francisco, but I don't think that's going to move the needle, even if they sweep St. Mary's, say, and sweep San Francisco. I think San Francisco would drop. So I think it would still be people will look at them a little bit skeptically. Now, it always depends on what's going on in the rest of the country, right? If other teams tank. But right now I have them out. And I think they're probably going to need to win the WCC unless they can pull off that win in Lexington against a very good Kentucky team.
What about the Pac-12? There's been a lot of talk about Arizona, a lot of local talk about Arizona because Keyshawn Johnson, who was a terrific player at San Diego State, transferred over there. They obviously at one point maybe were number 1 in the country. I mean, they've had some really good results, but they've had some interesting losses on the road in the Pac-12 as well. What does the Pac-12 look like outside of Arizona? And is Arizona in a position where they could secure a 1 or 2 seed, or is that outside the realm of possibility?
So I still have them on the number 1 line. I know a lot of people have dropped them to a 2, but I think just the wins they got early in the season, like a beating Duke on the road, that's still one of the best wins in the country. Beating Wisconsin, their metrics are fantastic. The 3rd in KenPom, 3rd in BPI, they are 3rd in the net. So all that stuff usually translates to a number 1 seed. So I still have them there. The rest of the league is a lot weaker than I think we expected it to be. Mostly because I think a lot of people thought USC was going to be good. They have just really not panned out. They're 8-10. They've got a bunch of injuries. And then UCLA has been a complete tire fire. I think we thought that, they may struggle with all the freshmen, but boy, this has been a total disaster. It turned it around a little bit in the last week, but they have no chance of sniffing the NCAA tournament. So that when your teams that are expected to be good kind of flame out like that, it really puts a lot of pressure on the others. I think Utah is in. Colorado's got a shot. Oregon's playing better and getting some guys back. But right now we have 3 teams in, with Colorado being really the only one under consideration outside that group right now.
Brian, before you go, just back to San Diego State, obviously there's some teams at the top that have only lost, maybe 1 or 2 games all season. But from a clean resume perspective, is San Diego State right there? Because their 3 losses are road Quad 1 losses. BYU, Grand Canyon, and New Mexico this past weekend. What will that ultimately mean to the committee if they do, quote unquote, keep it clean and avoid anything outside of a Quad 1 loss?
I mean, it's always good. Those Quad 3 and Quad 4 losses always kind of knock you down. Sometimes it could knock you down a whole C line. But I always say you can't bad loss your way into the tournament, and you can't bad loss your way. Good loss is what I should have said. You can't good loss your way into the tournament or good loss your way into a high seed. And so, yeah, they played a good schedule, which helps the most. That strength of schedule is always really impressive. But what the committee's really looking for are those high quality wins. And right now, San Diego State doesn't really have them. I mean, part of it's not their fault. St. Mary's got off to a slow start. They're starting to pick it up. That win is looking better and better. And of course, they hammered them by 25 points or something like that. The Gonzaga win's great, but we just talked about Gonzaga's having its worst year in 27 years, maybe. So those things that maybe hold them back a little bit from those upper seed echelons, unless they go on a run here in the Mountain West and really start to pile up more and more of these quality wins, because in non-conference, they just didn't get the one that really makes you go, wow, that was a great win.
One more before you go, because there's a lot of Aztec fans that I notice take particular interest into FAU results. You talked about Florida Atlantic earlier.
Yeah.
They're trailing right now in the second half. We'll see if they win or not against Wichita State. How do you compare the resumes right now of Florida Atlantic? Like, where would you have them seated? They've got good wins. They have bad losses compared to San Diego State, a team that has no bad losses, but maybe doesn't have the same level of marquee win like Arizona on a neutral, for example, that FAU has.
Yeah, I mean, Florida Atlantic's one of the weirdest teams in the country,
Yep.
one of the weirdest resumes. You know, I have them actually on the same line as San Diego State, 2 spots behind them, I believe, on the 6th line. But they will drop tonight if they lose this game, and they're down double digits at halftime. But yeah, you mentioned they beat Arizona in Las Vegas, which is basically a home game for Arizona. They beat Texas A&M. They've had some good wins, but then they lose to Charlotte, lose to Florida Gulf Coast, lose to Bryant, and they may lose to a Wichita team that comes in 145 in the net at home. So I think, if you looked at this resume and you just saw Florida Atlantic, you didn't know anything about them, you'd probably knock them down even more than they are. But I think there's a little bit of respect that the committee just has to have, knowing that this team is basically the same team that went to the Final Four last year. So, yeah, it's going to be a really tricky scenario of where they're seated. I can't really remember a situation like this where you've had a mid-major coming off a Final Four run with some great wins and some really weird losses. So I don't know exactly what's going on with that team or where they're going to be seated. So right now I've kind of got them in that 6-7 range.
Great stuff, Brian. I look forward to seeing, again, your newest iteration of the bracket tomorrow. You're doing this every Friday, essentially, from now until Selection Sunday, and you have more as we get closer?
We go every Friday, and then once we get to championship week, conference tournaments, we'll go every day.
Awesome. We'll check it out, Brian. We appreciate it. Brian Bennett at The Athletic. Thanks for taking time for San Diegans.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right. Jim, are you still here?
What?
So that's good. That was just good for me. I needed to get it out of my system.
No,
there's certain things you need to do.
Yeah, I know. And
you know what I mean?
And thinking about it, like, I push back on bracketology guests this far out, but
sure.
At the same time, if it's going to give me like a nice little
10 minutes off,
10 minutes break here,
right?
I'm not complaining about that.
Jim loves the NCAA tournament. What do you got, Brian?
As I say, my favorite part was after Jim asked us one question.
He's like, I'm out.
He practically looked at the camera and did the mic drop gesture.
I'm
like,
done.
there we go.
His question was like, San Diego State, what do you think?
Yeah, what do you got? Okay. San Diego State,
and then
what do you have
Jim
them seated?
shuts up for 10 minutes. Now, what Jim loves about the NCAA tournament, I don't blame him. We are the exclusive San Diego home of Westwood One's NCAA tournament coverage. Plus, we would have live and local San Diego State games, assuming they're in the NCAA tournament like we did a year ago in all these previous seasons. So what that means is the NCAA tournament happens to overlap with Jon and Jim.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. So that might mean that Jim gets a couple of extra days off in March and April. Are you going to be okay with that? Missing a Thursday or Friday, having a long weekend that time of year?
Who do I talk to about that?
Program director, potentially? You could talk to?
Who's that?
That's me. You could talk to me about that.
That's nobody.
You could talk to me about that.
Yeah. Well, we have no one to talk to about it. So I'll be okay with just taking maybe a couple days off there to watch the tournament. And
you may need a couple days.
Yeah.
You've been working 3 hours a day for weeks now.
Really, it's tough out here, guys.
I found that to be, again, very soothing for me, hopefully for our listeners as well. He has the Aztecs. Now, can I push back?
I hate a bracketology.
Can I push back? Again, we'll see what happens this weekend.
Go push back all you want.
I mean, they're 15-3 with no bad losses. He's got them as a 6 seed. I tend to think more 5. Now, there's a lot of basketball to be played. It's not a reason to get upset, I wouldn't think, at this point. But I think the Aztecs' resume is a lot better than Florida Atlantic's.
Here's where I potentially might agree with them.
Okay.
As of right now, what is their best road win of the year?
Gonzaga.
Okay. And how, besides Gonzaga, which is now, as he said, probably the worst Gonzaga team in over 20 years.
Yeah, but that's not, they're still very good. It's still a quad 1 road win.
Right. If you only have one quad 1 road win, is that good enough to be a 5 seed?
I don't know. Well, no, but there's still probably 5 or 6 quad 1 road opportunities.
I don't know. I'm not saying
but to this point, is it enough?
Yeah.
I would say yes.
So
to this point,
to this point,
yeah.
And how many?
There's very few teams that have multiple quad 1 road wins.
But how many quad 1 road games have they played?
San Diego State?
Yeah.
they are 1-3 in quad one road games, but those are the hardest games you're going to play.
I know.
There's a lot of teams that are like
They're
0-2.
If they were 2-2, then I'd be like, yeah, 5.
Okay.
1-3, I can understand 6, nothing lower than that.
Okay. Maybe you should start your own page.
No.
You have strong opinions here. I like it. You could Jim's bracketology page,
I'm just
like
giving
Jim's
you-
back page. No?
6
Do it every day at 5:45.
Every day at 6:02.
At 6:02. I like it. I like it. Okay, so Brian Bennett. Well, listen, I'm not going to bring us a bracketology each and every week. I'll probably wait now until after the Super Bowl. I just wanted to fix.
There was a point in time last year, and it all worked out because they made the national championship
Thank
game.
you. Yeah.
But man, dude,
What?
how many bracketologies do we have on?
8.
Every
Not
week.
8 every week. I like to get like a Ken Pomeroy. Ken Pom. I like to get a Bart Torvik.
Have you subscribed to their?
Nope.
Wow.
No, now here's the thing. That's the reason why I'm not even going to reach out this year. Because if you're going to make fun of me for not having a subscription,
You can't be Mr. Bracket guy and
You-
Mr. Net
you
Rankings
can't
and
be
Mr.
Mr.
Catapult guy.
Netflix and use like your mom's Netflix account.
Actually, I have my own Netflix account. Thanks very much.
But you know what I mean? Like you use Aaron's Hulu.
It's our Hulu.
Okay, I should probably have a Ken Pom subscription.
Probably.
to be
You're
honest.
Mr. Net Rankings. You're Mr. Catapult.
I know.
You're Mr. Ken Pomeroy. And you don't have an account for his website?
Alek Manoah.
Great transition.
Segue.
Yeah.
Is formerly a frontline starter for the Toronto Blue Jays. Young guy, 26. Do we have John Morosi? Brent, you'll hear what John Morosi has to say about him in a moment. This was a guy that a year ago, like literally a year ago, was about to be the Blue Jays opening day starter, finished third in AL Cy Young Award voting as like a 24-year-old in 2022. The wheels completely fell off this year.
Listen to how bad his season was.
Okay,
Ready
but
for
the
this?
Blue Jays have added a starter, and now he's become expendable. But yeah,
So in 2022, he went 16-7 with a 2.24 ERA,
yeah, that's amazing.
196 and 2/3 innings pitched.
Crazy.
All right. He struck out 180, only walked 51.
Mm-hmm.
This year, well,
This
this
past
past year, 3-9 with a 5.87 ERA in 19 starts in 87 and a third innings pitched. He walked 59 batters and struck out 79.
Yeah, so like what happened?
What the hell happened? And his first year in the big leagues in 2021 was actually really good. 9-2 with a 3.22 ERA in 20 games started and 111 innings pitched, 127 strikeouts and 40 walks. So his first 2 years, you're like, this guy's
Frontline starter for the next decade.
easily. And he completely fell off the map.
So is he now expendable? And could the Padres be interested? John Morosi, MLB Network today.
What does this mean for Alek Manoah? And you see him there. Manoah's still right now in the fifth spot of the Jays rotation because we're not sure, again, if Yadiel will be able to pitch for a full 6 months in the rotation. And yet, we do know there have been rumblings of trade conversations between the Jays and other teams this offseason. The Padres are one team that I would mention because Manoah was able to come back at least after a really tough start to the year. Get sent to the minor leagues. He was able to work his way back to the major leagues. Did not have a ton of success. But in my experience watching him, it wasn't as though he was non-competitive. He just didn't have as good stuff in 2023. And he was often a pitch or two away from getting out of jams, but things tended to snowball for him. So I think a team like San Diego, big ballpark, National League, different venue, different change of scenery entirely, I can see that type of a situation being very advantageous for Manoah. That being said, the Jays are not just going to give him away because he does still have value to him, value to the organization.
Okay, he wasn't a few pitches here and there away from being good last year. He sucked.
They hit a 6 ERA.
He was one of the worst pitchers in baseball.
Like that's so like Brent said, like, yeah, I'm a couple of 25-pound weights away from lifting 200 pounds.
I
But
said I'm a couple wheels away from being a bicycle too.
yeah, I mean, you are what you are. The numbers are the numbers.
Yeah, he was statistically one of the worst starting pitchers in baseball last season.
Right. Now, are there reasons and can it be rectified? That's the question.
Because he's shown it as soon as he did, or 2021, 2022 were really good seasons. That's
Mhm.
not far removed. It's not like he
No.
pitched at the Cy Young All-Star level 7 years ago.
Right.
It was just 2 years ago.
Right.
And so you think maybe change the scenery, get him with Ruben Niebla.
Yeah.
Who knows what could happen? But it's a risk worth taking, I feel like.
Definitely. I think it's a risk worth taking, assuming you're not giving up high-level prospect capital, which you may be because he's 26 and controllable.
Yeah, that's the thing is, if you do call the Blue Jays, what's their asking price for Manoah? Is it high? Because they feel like kind of how we feel is like, look,
he's going to bounce back.
This was an off year, but what he showed in 2 seasons was frontline stuff, and we're going to fix him, and we believe in him because we have him under control for the next, 5-6 years?
Well, I do know this.
Not 5-6 years.
No, 4 years.
4 years.
Sorry. I do know this. They'll ask for more than the Padres are going to try to give up, but they can't ask for what they would have asked for a year and a half ago.
Yeah,
so it's like you're kind of meeting in the middle here. What is he worth? I would say it's a risk worth taking. Of course, you're not moving one of your top 5 or 6 prospects in your organization, but would you consider moving one or two players that are ranked between like 10th and 30th in your organization for a controllable starter?
Yeah, I think
fills a void.
They have to do something. I mean, I know a lot of people on social media the other day were like, just let things play out and let's just root for the team and they have great players and blah 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 blah. It's like, no, they have to win. Like, let's not lose sight of that. That winning is the most important thing, even though they have some good players on this team and potential Hall of Famers. Like, they won 82 games last year. They had the 3rd highest payroll in baseball. They failed miserably. They got rid of their manager. They traded Juan Soto. This season needs to be completely different.
Yeah, and I don't know if Alek Manoah is like the guy that puts him over the top. But does he help complete their rotation and give you a chance? He's a bounce back candidate.
Yeah,
I like a bounce back candidate. I like ballpark factors, which means it's easier to pitch in San Diego than it is in the AL East. In Toronto, I like getting a second lease, so to speak, after just change organizations sometimes work. Look at the guys that AJ Preller's traded away before. Some of the guys pan out getting that second opportunity with the new organization. So I don't know if it would work out, but I think it's better than signing some dude for $15 million a year that had a 4.9 ERA.
It sometimes changes scenery in any walk of life. Like, it just, like when I just moved recently with Aaron, the house that we were living in, it was a disaster from the standpoint of we had like cockroaches in there and we had dead mice in our attic.
Right.
And when we cleaned everything out, there was like cockroach poop like near our
that's
food.
disgusting.
It was disgusting. Change the scenery, just changed everything, right? And in baseball, sometimes when you're just, it's not working for you, or any sport, in any walk of life, if it's not working for you, you just need to get out and you need to go somewhere new. And when that happens, it's an easy, I feel like, reset from a mental standpoint, and you can just forget about everything that happened in the past and forget about all the bad and forget about how you pitched extremely poorly last year and think about, like, I'm still a good pitcher. I can do this, and get into a new system, get with people that can help you, get with a new mindset, new everything. And that's why I think there's a calculated risk here for the Padres if they were to happen to call the Blue Jays. And it's not been.
No, he said they've spoken.
Okay.
He said they at least spoke earlier in the offseason.
Well, making this move, I feel like it's a risk worth taking because I don't feel like it's going to break the bank, so to speak.
Right. I mean, Ethan Salas isn't going anywhere. Jackson Merrill's not going anywhere.
They're not going to be asking for those players now.
But again, can they? Yeah. Again, this is the type of player the Padres should be looking at with real upside. Former first-round pick, throws hard, has had good success in the major leagues. We'll see if something happens or not. On the other side, Jim calls out a coach. Okay.
Softest coach.
So Jim has a hot take.
Sports.
Jim has a very hot take on the other side. Plus, Jim has a back page still to come as well. Stay with us on Jon and Jim.
This update's brought to you by Indeed.com. Aztecs, coming off their loss to New Mexico over the weekend, picked up a win last night versus Nevada. They won 71-59 to improve to 4-1 in conference play. Next up for the Aztecs, they take on Boise State on the road this Saturday. 10 a.m. tip-off there. You can listen to that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. NFL news of the day, Mike McCarthy will officially return to the Cowboys next season, and the Falcons are conducting their second interview with Bill Belichick. New year, new hiring needs. Indeed's end-to-end solution helps you attract, interview, and hire candidates all year round. Schedule and conduct virtual interviews right from your Indeed dashboard. Learn more by visiting Indeed.com/credit today.
All right, Jim's back page is still ahead. We're with you until 6. Aztecs basketball is Saturday at 10 a.m. Our pregame coverage will begin at 9:30. Listen to this guest lineup we have for you tomorrow.
Stacked.
Cynthia Freeland at this time will join us tomorrow. NFL Network analytics expert. She's been terrific for our listeners. She'll break down the divisional round. She's heading for Detroit, by the way, tomorrow.
Michigan girl.
Because Detroit's still in the postseason for the first time in like 40 years.
Yeah.
So she'll be in Detroit. We'll get you ready for all 4 games at 5:30 with Cynthia Freeland. At 5 o'clock tomorrow, David J. Mad Friars.
Correct.
To talk about Leo DeVries, the new international prospect that the Padres have signed.
The great Ethan Salas.
The great Ethan Salas. And the rest of the system for the Padres. So David J. from madfriars.com will join us at 5. And BJ Rains will join us, Bronco Nation News, to get us ready for San Diego State and Boise State. He'll join us, I believe, at 3:30 tomorrow. So a really good show for you tomorrow right here on Jon and Jim. So there was something that like sent you over the edge last night related to college basketball, which surprised me.
It didn't send me over the edge. It just made me laugh.
Okay.
Because you can't get much softer than this. Honestly, you really can't. So what has been the thing when teams play Texas and beat them? Like what
Horns down.
Horns down. All right. You see that from a lot of fan bases. You see that
typically in football. I that's what I think of, but yeah.
So last night they lost to UCF 77-71
at home. New Big 12 member UCF.
Correct.
Right.
And after the game, not the entire team, but I would say 5-6 players were doing the horns down before the handshake line.
UCF, because they won. Hey, horns down.
Horns down. Horns down. They're on the road. I mean, come on, man. You just had a big win on the road at Big 12. Like, come on. And their head coach at
Rodney
Texas
Terry
saw this.
Longtime head coach of Fresno State, but yes.
And he took exception. And he was trying to talk down to them in the handshake line. And then after the game, this is what he had to say about the horns down.
You know, I'm a big believer in, you know, you win the right way, you lose the right way. And, you know, I always tell my guys, you know, whether you win or lose, you win the right way. You lose the right way. You carry yourself the right way. You don't go through the handshake line or try to get into the handshake line and have about 6 or 7 guys putting the horns down. We don't do that, you know, because when you do those kind of things, it looks very classless, and it also looks like you were just hoping to win. We never go into games trying to hope to win. We go into games expecting to win. So we don't act like that. You know, we expect to win. We don't jump up and down like we won a national championship. We sure don't step on anyone's home court deal and act crazy and try to show them up in any way. We don't do that. You know, so that's what I was angry about. And I was letting those guys know you don't do that. You know, you guys won. Hey, we shake your hand, tip our hat to you, but we're not going to let you act that way in our building. You're not going to do that. You're not going to put your horns down and do all that nonsense.
Actually, they did do that, and they got away with it because they beat you. And you in the SEC are going to get destroyed.
Well, hold on. That's where your take went off the rails. They got a way harder schedule right now than they're going to have in the SEC.
No. I don't mean losing. I mean, when they lose, they're going to have to deal with a bunch of horns down. And if you're going to be crybabies about it, why don't you go out there and win? That was one of the softest remarks I've ever seen from a guy upset about the other team doing a horns down. Give me a break.
Well, here's the thing. They are definitely the pariah of the Big 12 right now because they're on their way out. And plus, they've always been the big dog on the street because they're Texas in the Big 12. But you're right. I mean, now that he has gone out of his way to take exception to this, every single time they lose, this is going to happen. And they haven't had a very good year. And by the way, there's more to this than that, because in the handshake line, he was like yelling at the UCF players, right? And that's what led to the reaction post game as well.
If you're that worried, you should be more worried about your team and how you lost 77-71 than some players in their team putting the horns down.
And they're on the outside looking in. Listen, their last 2 games, this is Texas, mighty Texas.
Yeah.
They've lost at West Virginia. They're awful. And they've lost to UCF at home. So they're not trending in the right direction. I agree with you. There's bigger things to be concerned about, like your team's performance at home against UCF.
Dude.
And let the other things kind of play out.
Yeah. It was just funny.
I would say just do it after the game. Don't do it during the handshake line. That's when you're supposed to pretend like you at least have sportsmanship.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to do it after the game. And then when you get in the handshake line, just do the good game. And
That's what they did. They were on their bench.
Yeah.
And it was before the handshake line.
They made it sound like they were doing it in the handshake line too.
No. There's video, and after the game, they were celebrating on their bench.
Okay, I don't have a problem.
And they were looking at the fans.
He made it sound like they went through the handshake line instead of shaking hands. They were putting the horns down. Okay,
They were looking at the fans, and they're putting the horns down. Okay, and then they turned around and went through the handshake line, and then this guy started.
Okay, that's fine. Then I thought they were doing it in the handshake line.
I mean, the thing is, there's something about
soft.
And there's something about Texas where this is just going to be par for the course. When you outspend everyone, when you have unlimited resources, like you said, when you're heading for the SEC, when you're one of these prestigious programs at all sports, that when you get beat, people will celebrate it. I mean, I'm fine with that. I think celebrating a good road win, I have no problem with. And again, these guys it's not out of control, right?
No.
They weren't going into the stands.
How long has this guy been the head coach of Texas?
It's only his 2nd year. Remember, because the Texas head coach
had Shaka Smart.
Well, no, Chris Beard lost his job.
Oh, yeah.
And then he took over. But he was at Fresno State. He was at UTEP. And
this guy won't last more than 2 more years.
Maybe not. He may not. It's possible.
I mean, seriously, if you're really going to get that butthurt over the horns down, give me a break. Stop being soft.
Now, do you remember last year? They were in the Elite Eight. They lost to Miami. They had that large lead in the Elite Eight. They almost went to the Final Four, and they lost to Miami. So they had a good year. They were in the Elite Eight.
I'm just saying that if you're going to be that sensitive to the horns down, you have so much more to worry about. And oh, by the way, like when I said, they're going to get destroyed in the SEC, not like on the court, but when they lose.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a lot of horns down. When you go to Alabama, when you go and face Kentucky, you don't think that all the fans and the players, if they beat you, are going to do the horns down? Give me a break. They will. They will. And you're going to have to suck it up. And you can't be soft about it. This basically college basketball and all college sports now is turning into almost professional sports because of NIL. And all these kids are getting paid. So
even more
stop being soft and worry about other things that are more important.
I can't believe you got so up in arms about this.
I just did.
I was actually surprised you even saw it, because it was a big story last night on social media. I was surprised that you saw it, but yeah, you're up in arms about it. I love when you have these like random hot takes. Typically, the takes would be like related to the Padres or Major League Baseball or the NFL, Purdy, right? But not Warriors.
Yeah. Well, I just saw it and I thought to myself, man, that guy is really crying over spilled milk.
Crying over spilled milk.
And it's honestly kind of a sad look for you, buddy.
All right. Again, tomorrow, Cynthia Freeland at this time from the NFL Network gets us ready for Brock Purdy's divisional round appearance against the great Jordan Love.
You had to say playoff debut, huh?
No, I wasn't, because last year
he
made it to the NFC Championship game.
Because you forget he went 2-0 in the playoffs last year before.
Well, actually, he went 2-1 because he started the game against the Eagles. So his all-time record is actually 2-1.
4 passes.
So he's actually 2-1 in the postseason. Is he not?
Yeah,
is he not? I think he is.
Technically.
And by the way, if he doesn't beat Green Bay is it Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday.
Then he's 2-2.
I said this to my buddies. I go, look, not to be like dramatic or anything, but if the Niners don't win the Super Bowl this year,
you said you're going to do what?
I'm going to like literally
be mad.
I'll lose my freaking mind.
Well, listen, winning the Super Bowl is never easy, regardless of seeding. And the thing is, if they get to the Super Bowl and we talked about this off air, like if it's Baltimore, they could very well be an underdog. They've already lost to Baltimore. And by the way, if it's Buffalo or Kansas City, it's not like they're going to be a prohibitive favorite. It's Josh Allen or it's Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl. So I think they got to get there.
Yeah.
From there, it's hard to be that critical. Like, you've gotten to a Super Bowl with this young quarterback. Yeah, it'd be great to win it, but it's not like, oh my gosh, what a failure. They didn't win a Super Bowl. Getting to a Super Bowl is an accomplishment, isn't it?
It's an accomplishment, but once you get there, it's like,
yeah, you want to win.
You got to win.
No, I agree. All right, Jim's back page coming up next. What's up, guys? It is Schaefer. I've been telling you about my friends over at Windmill Farms earlier this week. I was over on the Mesa for San Diego State press conference, I think with Brian Dutcher. And for lunch, I picked up Windmill Farms, and I do it basically every single week. It's quick and easy, in and out. It's affordable. You pick up a sandwich card, and your 8th sandwich is free. It's a great spot in the college area. It's the perfect spot to pick up a quick, affordable, healthy lunch. So get there during your work week. In addition, do all your grocery shopping over at Windmill Farms. They've got you covered for whatever you need, whether it's the organic farm fresh produce and meats, if it's the craft beer, if it's the deli, if it's all of their selections that they have. It's easy to get in and out of. They've got all kinds of healthy selections for you. Trevor and his family, they've been in the grocery business for 20 years, 20 plus years, serving San Diegans. And again, they support San Diegans and local businesses like Harris Ranch and Mr. G's Salsa. And even if you're not in the college area, you can shop at Windmill Farms because they're on Instacart. You can have your groceries delivered directly to your doorstep. There is nothing easier than doing that. They also have weekly specials for you on Instagram or at windmillfarmsmarket.com. Again, that's windmillfarmsmarket.com. But whatever you need, whether it's your work week or getting ready for your game day needs and tailgating needs on the weekend, shop local, shop at Windmill Farms. All right, we're back. Again, tomorrow, make sure to join us. Cynthia Freeland, NFL Network at 5:30. David J. from Mad Friars at 5 p.m. BJ Rains, he covers Boise State. He'll join us tomorrow as well. We'll talk about San Diego State, Boise State, that Saturday showdown, 10 a.m. tip time. Our pregame coverage will begin at 9:30. Now, do you have a back page for today?
Of course I do, John.
Basically every day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. If there's a big story, though, we're covering, we typically wouldn't do it. Like if the Padres today traded for Alek Manoah.
If they traded for Alek Manoah right now,
then we wouldn't do it. But if they traded for him at 3 p.m., would we do the back page? I think so. Okay.
Yeah.
But if they traded for like
5:30, then no.
If they signed Snell, would we still do back page? I'm asking we're still doing our show. Level of move everything out of the way.
If they sign somebody,
sure, at 5:30, then we're gonna
at
talk
5
about
o'clock.
It.
You just wipe everything clean.
Okay.
They sign him at 4:30. You still do the show. We might wipe out Trainwreck, but you still do the show.
I'm not wiping out Trainwreck.
If they sign somebody at
actually, I probably would.
4:42.
Yeah. I probably would. Yeah. Okay. Let's get to it.
Do you ever think to yourself, man, where can I get the best French fry in California?
Maybe. That sounds good. Yeah.
Well, you're in luck if you think that.
Okay. Because it's in San Diego?
The best French fry in California, according to Love Food, a website dedicated to food recipes and reviews, has named the best French fry in California at the Smoking Goat restaurant off 30th Street in North Park, where I used to live.
Do you know the location?
I absolutely know the location.
Okay.
And it's right next to a bar, and it's right next to a ramen place. I forget what the ramen place is called. But the Smoking Goat is fantastic. And these French fries here,
amazing.
I've not had a Smoking Goat French fry,
but maybe now you will.
But maybe now I should, because this website that's dedicated to food reviews and everything that involves food, named this place as the best French fry spot in all of California.
We need to go.
So here's the description of the French fry.
Okay.
In a state as big as California, which has so many culinary influences, it's almost impossible to pick the best French fry. Only almost, though, as the duck fat truffle fries at the Smoking Goat really are something special.
Duck fat.
Enriched by being fried in duck fat and drizzled with truffle oil, these crispy fries are then finished with freshly grated pecorino romano, served along a mustard aioli. They taste incredible, whether devoured on their own or paired with one of the restaurant's luxurious entrees.
That's like the best you've ever read anything in your life.
Because I love food.
Yeah, I know.
You should do your updates like that.
Yeah, you really should. Really should.
I read everything. I was slow.
But I can't
Dallas
try
has
that.
Decided they're going to keep Mike McCarthy for one more year.
But I can't try those fries because they're duck fat fries.
Oh, really? Is duck meat?
Yeah.
It's not vegan?
No. I don't eat ducks.
Just pretend it's a fish.
Yeah, I guess it's not really eating a duck, though. It's duck fat.
Yeah.
Come on.
Maybe they extracted the fat without hurting the duck.
I like that. Yeah, maybe the duck was overweight and it was doing like lipo.
Yeah, there you go.
And you wouldn't know anyway when you tasted it. You're eating a French fry.
Maybe. I could be convinced, probably.
After that read,
you
better have a freaking French fry.
What else you have?
Applebee's is offering a weekly date night pass.
Okay.
For $200. That includes up to $30 in food per week for a year. The passes will go on sale Monday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and there is only a limited number available, according to the restaurant. The date night pass gives up to a $30 discount on food and non-alcoholic drinks 52 times between February 1st, 2024 and January 31st, 2025.
The theory there is kind of like, you know how you could go to an amusement park and it's like $100, but you get the annual for like $180.
Yeah.
And people get the annual, but maybe they only go to the amusement park one time. If you had the weekly to Applebee's, are you going every week?
They got a good menu.
Right. Saving 30 times 50 is $1,500. And the thing only costs $200. Yep. If you save $30 50 times.
My whole thing is, how long is it going to take before your girlfriend's like, we're going to Applebee's again?
Right. Well, you got to be
dating.
like
Shaun of the Dead. We're going to the Winchester again.
No, you got to be on the dating scene. You got to be going out with different girls every week. But then again, on your first date, are you really dropping the $30 off coupon?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Because that's where all the players go is Applebee's. Every week I take a different girl to Applebee's.
Hey, remember when we talked? Remember when we talked about, or maybe we didn't talk about, but I remember talking to somebody about if you had to pick one restaurant to eat at for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
That wasn't here, was it?
It was not here, I don't think.
I spoke to someone about this.
Well, I think I probably was
It'd probably be the
Aaron.
duck fry place.
Probably Aaron, because I think Blake Snell, they had the Padres. Remember the Padres were talking about it? Like, where was the number one place you rather eat? You want to eat the rest of your life? And
what
Blake
did Snell say?
Said
Applebee's?
No, he said Cheesecake Factory because of the amount of selections on their item.
Okay.
I'm not saying
Good
Applebee's.
reason.
I'm not saying Applebee's is a top choice, but Applebee's also has a bunch of different things on their menu item.
Okay.
That potentially you could go there and not get bored.
Yeah. No, I buy that.
Yeah. So
that's all you got?
No, finally. Did you know Kanye West removed all of his teeth and replaced them with titanium dentures?
Why?
Cool. He's like Jaws from James Bond now.
Like, that has to be bad for your gums, right?
Well, he already had the thing through the wire, right? Like, broke his mouth.
Jaw.
I mean, if you put titanium dentures in your
not
mouth,
good.
it's probably not going to be good for feeling.
We'll have him on tomorrow 3 to discuss. All right. If you missed anything today, can you imagine? SportsSD.com.
We can only hope that someday we'll have enough money, we get delusion enough to get titanium teeth.
If you missed anything today, iHeartRadio app, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify. If you're listening to the podcast, leave a review as well. Follow us on Instagram at Jon and Jim, JONANDJIM. We're back tomorrow at 3. Good show lined up for you tomorrow. Getting ready for the NFL postseason and Aztecs basketball. For Brent and Jim, I'm John. Keep it here at San Diego Sports 760.
Okay.